What's fucked up is before I introduce you, I quit coffee last January, and now I am back on coffee, and I have a love-hate relationship with it. I never did any drugs my whole life, and caffeine's the only drug I've ever really done. And I drank it every day of the month of December last year, and it made me hyped up, dehydrated, shit myself, want to take a nap.
I love that feeling. I live for that feeling.
And so now I'm back on it. I don't know fucking why I'm on it, dude. It makes me jittery. I don't know what to do. I think I'm addicted to something.
What's the benefit?
Makes me feel alive and shit, man.
That's what it is. That's the benefit.
But I feel alive anyway. I'm high on life anyway.
Well, I say harm reduction. Drink water. Limit your...
Lots of hydration.
Limit the intake. Know what's going to happen. I tried to manage addiction for years. Mm-hmm. And eventually I did have to surrender and stop.
Yeah. How many years you been sober for now?
30.
Holy fuck.
I know. I just want to let you know, I got clean in 1990. And if you know, or your listeners know the history of L7 and who our associations were through the 90s, can you imagine?
Yeah.
I was just most of the time knocking at bathroom doors saying things like, "Are you guys okay? Hello?"
Yeah. I just watched that doc again, and I saw you chilling with in the PP with, and rest in peace, a lot of them and all that. Anyway, let me introduce you first. Welcome to the podcast, One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today we have a very, very special guest, musician, photographer, designer, maybe even like director. You kind of narrated that doc. I don't know. You do a lot of things. You have many hats. Jennifer Finch, thank you for being on my podcast.
Hello.
You're a badass too, and I learned so much. You're a badass. And my wife grew up loving your band and the music, and my wife was into the Riot Girl and all that stuff. And I went and saw all those bands, every single one of the bands from that world. But just watching your doc a couple weeks ago, and I knew you.
Did you hold her jacket while she went in the pit?
Fuck yeah! She had a fucking crew called. She had a crew called Girls Up Front Posse. It said they had shirts. There was a whole crew of them. And you can see my wife in all these old school photos up front, diving, all that shit. Like, yeah, my wife's a badass. She scares me. Mm-hmm. But you were part. You were
as
part
a good woman should.
Yeah, and you were part of the soundtrack to her life. Oh, so it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And how are you?
Well, outside of a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here too.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's an interesting time.
It is.
It's an interesting time, and I haven't played a show in a year almost. It'll be 1 year next month since I was on tour.
It's interesting, right? I realized how much I was reliant on live shows as cardio, like part of a healthy regime, like
totally
social exercise, movement, and breath.
Yeah, it's so true. And I got to make sure when I get back on the road that I'm fucking in tip-top shape. I try to work out every day and exercise and cardio, and I'll eat good and all that stuff.
How sad for you.
What?
Well, you bought into that, huh?
What? No, it's what you just said.
I'm just going to say...
I just turned 50. I haven't played a show in my 50s yet. So I
It's so great.
Okay.
It's just better. It's just better.
Okay, I'm not nervous about it. I just know that I've always tried to be in shape. I always try to stay in good shape myself, just for myself, not for anybody else.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I, as a person who grew up having to read women's health magazines and the vision of women's health, and having to subvert that and redefine it, I recently got a subscription to Men's Health magazine.
Interesting.
Have you ever seen this?
I have not. I know about it, but
is brutal on the impressions of men. Everybody is overfit, photoshopped, lifestyle perfect. The covers are insane. They do not look human. Wow. And I feel for men, because I think men are now going through this pressure to somehow remain fit. And it might be a little too much. Just my opinion.
So you're saying like the look of being fit, like the six pack and all that chiseled stuff, and
yeah, the look of going under calorie, of like consistently building muscle mass, keeping that on, when really it's a lot of pressure. Yeah, and you're in the public space as a 50-year-old man. You're kind of under just as maybe more pressure than I would be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it for like. I'm never posting my shirt off. I don't use any filters. I'm not like vain. I just want to stay healthy. I want to be able to surf with my son, skate with my son.
I've seen you with your shirt off.
Okay. Well, not since I've been in my 50s. Anyway, my point. Okay, but listen. My point isn't to I want to look the best I can at 50, take my shirt off. Blah, blah, blah. No, I just want to stay healthy so I can keep up with my family.
And that's how they get you. No, seriously, that's how they get you.
Interesting.
But I admire that you're doing that.
Well,
I support you.
Thank you. I do feel like that comes from a lot of social media as well, is like all the different, I don't know what they're called, like the little, you said it before. Like,
well, it comes from marketing, not necessarily from social media, which is, marketing finds our pain. It finds our pain and then sells a solution. Social media has just become some kind of, magnifier of that.
Yeah. I think about it for women too as well. Like when it was all those magazines, they had to go to the store and get the magazines of the skinny girl on the cover and all that stuff. And you had to go actually get a magazine. It was really before the internet. And now it's just like, I feel bad for like, I don't have a daughter, but like all the pressures of the Kardashians, just all this different world of like, you have to look like this. And it's not just in a magazine, it's on your phone all day long. It just gets rammed in people's faces all day long of how they think they should look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's easy to subvert that with one simple conversation, which is, this is not reality. These are people presenting cartoon. They're presenting characters of the ideals that they value. You can do that too.
That's true.
Just know where where you start and your cartoon ends, or however you want to say it, where you end and your cartoon starts. Yeah. And that's as performers, right? That's kind of, we show up in they're authentic. I mean, we're probably more authentic than most, but
sure, it's
still a cartoon. It's still a performance. It's performative.
Yeah, but I do think sometimes, I feel like the generation now, they can't know reality from fantasy. They think it's all, you know what I mean? It's hard for kids to know what's real and what's not, especially on the internet,
But that's been the conversation since, World War I. That was the conversation when society modernized.
Okay.
That's always been the conversation. And it's still, so you have the conversation.
Yeah. I hope people are having those conversations with their children and being open and all this, especially with all the pressures and with social media and just everything with, like you're just saying. But I didn't know. I've never looked at a Men's Health magazine, and I'm scared to actually.
There's a really great artist that I love called, we're doing that thing, Maria. Okay, edit this out. She does. She's young. She's in her 20s, and she does a lot of work with, putting as other women photographers and artists, putting your body forward as something that's to be criticized by yourself or others, and that's. I think that kids today are smart, and they're going to get that. They're going to look at that. It might take a little shaping within their community, but they have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
To have these conversations.
I love that. And I feel like open conversations with your family and especially your children is super important, especially now, especially right now at this moment we're going through, and just kids going to school and online, just everything. It's just a very, it's a very surreal time.
Do you know what I think is the problem with kids today?
Tell me.
I'll tell you. I think that socially we're becoming so stratified between age groups. Like when you and I were kids, we would go to shows or events that would be all ages. There'd be all different people. And now it feels odd for me to communicate with someone who's like maybe under 18. And I kind of look at that, like, why am I uncomfortable doing it? Because, respect for the family group or whatever has ended up being. So I think kids today are lacking in older mentors, because at one time that could have been dangerous. But I look back at my life when I was 14, I knew people in their 20s. Yeah. And communicated.
You were going to shows super young.
Yeah. Yeah. I started going to shows. I mean, my very first show I went to, I convinced my guitar teacher, Mark Solano, who had a little place here on Pico, to give guitar lessons, to convince my father to take me to a Ramones show at Ackerman Ballroom at UCLA in like it was 79 or something. I mean, it wasn't early. Yeah. But, and I was introduced to live shows.
That was your first live show?
It was my first live show. Damn. I like a lot of people, I might have seen other live shows, but that was the first, like, that kind of show,
Yeah. What kind of music were you in before you saw? What kind of music were you listening to before you saw the Ramones? Were you already into punk?
No, I was a little kid, and I listened to little kid music, and I had a babysitter that came over and brought the Ramones and brought the Clash and brought these bands over, Devo, which were great for being a kid. Like, they were energized, and they were, kooky and nonsensical in a way that, like, kids understand. Yeah. And Yeah. And then through that, my father I was raised just by my father.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised by my mother and I was taken out of her home. There were mental health issues. Like I grew up with parents with mental health issues, but I was raised by my father. And he would do anything just to get me to read. Like reading was really important to his generation. And he would take me to bookstores and let me get any book I wanted. And I was in the music section, as we all would be. So I picked up stuff like Patti Smith's poetry, books about punk rock in the UK. This is all in the later 70s. I even picked up, because we had talked. I went to Hamilton.
Yeah.
I eventually they had a magnet school that left that was called Westside Leadership Magnet. And I went to Westside Leadership Magnet, but, and then they moved the music school in. So I'm not part of the music school program.
Okay.
I actually didn't like music growing up.
You didn't?
No, I loved listening to music and I loved performance, but I did not like having to learn the discipline of music. So I wasn't a music school person at all. I was a visual arts person and a performance person.
Gotcha.
My first band was called and
UA? No,
UHH.
Okay. Okay.
When I was in high school, and we would go perform in public spaces like garages, just impromptu performance. We would send out the word and do these performances. And people in that band later on went on to a band called Savage Republic. I don't know if you heard, but they're very...
It's in my notes, I think, over here.
Yeah. And it just, a lot of people don't... I don't know about this part of Los Angeles history, but I think it's kind of music history and art history, but it's...
Yeah, I love that.
It's pretty... I think that it's the coming together of the punk world and the art world and the hardcore world was what the 80s were about in Los Angeles for me.
Yeah. And you grew up close to here, right? Not
I
far,
did.
Right?
I did. I grew up in West Los Angeles, and I'm in the Hamilton district.
Yeah.
Webster Junior High.
Okay.
When I entered the 7th grade, I had dyed my hair red with Rit dye and was immediately beaten up by all of these kids that were skaters immediately. So I was homeschooled for years. And then later on, in the 80s, being in, I was in the music scene and involved in the scene and did different bands. I joined L7 in 1986.
Yep.
But these guys, Mike Jensen and a few of the other guys that I went to junior high with ended up being in bands like Neighborhood Watch and Beowulf.
Sick.
And they were like, the apple that I did that. I'm really sorry. Like they all apologized. It was so sweet.
That's amazing. And you're in a band called Sugar Baby Doll too?
Yeah.
With Courtney Love?
I was.
Wow.
Courtney Love and I met, I'm going to say around 82, 83. She was involved in the LA. We'd go to hardcore shows and punk shows together and artist lofts and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And in 85, I'm going to say 84. I graduated high school. I really, really, really wanted to move to San Francisco. San Francisco was part of my dreamscape. Loved San Francisco. A lot of bands would go back and forth from LA to San Francisco. I grew up seeing the DKs and MDC and
awesome.
All of these, bands that came out of San Francisco, as well as like Frightwig.
Yeah.
And also very good friends of mine, Roddy and Billy, who were in Faith No More, that was like a punk art band at the time, both moved to San Francisco, and we were all friends with Courtney. And so I kind of used the joining the band as like leverage to get up there and then go to San Francisco State, where I majored in computer science.
Wow, computer science.
Computer science. I've been a gamer. I've loved video games. I've loved the digital space since the 80s. And San Francisco State reckoned that they were going to have like a digital arts department within the years that I had gone up there. So I started. I failed out terribly. Drugs are a huge part of my story. Huge parts. I don't know, like I'm completely an open book about it. Yeah. But, that was kind of the priority.
What, drugs were a priority, you mean?
Drugs were a priority. Drugs were really a priority.
And how old when you started?
I first started at 13. It's kind of a sad story. I became an IV drug user, opiate IV drug user at 13. I chronically ran away from home. I centered a lot of my social life around other people that used. Wow. And I got clean in 90.
Wow, man. And was it just the kids you were rolling with, the people you were hanging out with, the crowd? And
I would say I'm probably more of an instigator and a controller, to be honest. I never forced anything on anybody. I just knew that for whatever reason, my psychological makeup, I just functioned better on medication.
Wow.
Right? Until it stops working. And that's really the story. Like I'm hearing you say just even something like with caffeine, you recognize the dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
So like I could always recognize the dysfunction and the character defect that would come around it, but the benefit outweighed the negative, right? So it was kind of always managing it. And I was actually the only minor that I've ever known who was on methadone maintenance here in Los Angeles. I was on methadone 3 times through Suicide Prevention Clinic in Los Angeles and through other clinics. And I had to have my father sign a permission slip to be on methadone.
Wow. And so how
So it was really intense.
Jesus.
I mean, think of my poor daddy. Like
that's insane. Yeah.
Total insanity. I just feel grateful that I was able to get clean while both of my parents were still alive.
They saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. They could see.
So you were doing drugs all through school?
All through school.
And still getting good grades and still passing and shit?
Yeah.
Wow. Man.
I don't recommend it, but I did. I did very well. I came out of the public school system like, over 3.5, did well on my SATs.
That's incredible, man. And getting fucked up.
And getting fucked up.
Man.
With it, a lot of that behavior, though, was completely bolted in to, and I'm not blaming anybody, but there's a lot of, there's a little dog on my lap right now. Stella. Oh, she's so cute. The generations before, like people talk about the boomers, but I think there was a really important generation that was, kind of called the blank generation. That was generation. Punk rock came out of, and they were people that were subverting the hippies, but also subverting, the nuclear family style, whatever, So I read a lot of Burroughs and Bukowski and Chandler and like all these authors that came out, and they were really, and the boomer authors too, and and they were really influential. And I think at that point they didn't really understand the narrative of the disease of addiction or how it would affect others. They too started using later in life, whereas later where I was starting younger. So it's a problem. It's a problem, but it's a problem that I don't want to bury. I want to talk about it if people are willing to talk about it.
Helping people, I mean, the people listening who've been through similar things. Right. Were you drinking first, or you just went straight to hard?
Just straight. I just had one of those. Wow. I grew up in a really hardcore, working class neighborhood with people that smoking and drinking at 15 was normalized. Like that was normal. Nobody went to college. Everyone got a trade. They did stuff with their hands. It was multiracial, growing up. And that was consistent across most families, and but that's just what it was. That was the 70s, working class 70s, Los Angeles.
And you have siblings too, right? Your brothers and sisters?
Nope, I'm an only child.
Oh, shit,
Can't you tell? And I'm adopted.
Oh, wow. That's right. Yeah, it's right.
I'm adopted. Yeah.
So how old were you when you got adopted?
Probably 1.
Okay.
I mean, prior to memory.
Yeah. That's freaking crazy, man. You're a survivor, man. So it's sober since 90.
I like to call it clean.
Yeah, but you've been through a lot.
Sober implies alcohol. I was never a big drinker, but I'm sure if there was I don't know. I don't know.
How about weed and stuff like that? Weed and cigarettes, or?
It didn't do what I needed it to do. I mean, I was. There's just something about me, the way my emotional state and my behavior and my cognitive thinking that just required a shutdown, a full
You didn't
shutdown.
know what triggered it or caused it? Like just, was it because you were adopted or because you really like, I don't know.
I think that it's because I believe in the narrative of the disease of addiction that's kind of like possibly just built in.
Okay.
It built in. It may have manifested in a different way, but it comes in the form of obsession, compulsion, fear, denial, and destructive self-centeredness. Those are like kind of the key things that I look at in my life, even today, with or without drugs.
Yeah.
I have a character build that lends itself to those 5 aspects, and my thinking is not always my friend in it, my cognitive like thing that starts going on like in the
Yeah.
morning, informing me of who I am and what society is and what my body looks like and who
Yeah.
at work is friendly and who isn't, and
Yeah.
you know, how to charge clients. Oh, hi.
No, you sound
Sorry.
good. No, it's all good. It's all good. No, it sounds really powerful. So when did you start like wanting to play music and play bass and play an instrument? Like how young were you?
Yeah, I think, well, so I was in high school when I joined and I really saw
I love that.
I saw the power. Prior to that, I was a photographer. I took
Yeah.
my camera to shows.
Yep.
It allowed me some kind of flexibility and access to the performers in the community. I became part of the community. I never, I think it's really important when I tell my story for people to note, I was not a commercial photographer. There are people that photograph the Los
sure.
Angeles scene and the skate scene that were commercial photographers.
Yeah.
I was an amateur in the sense, like, I think my stuff had quality, but I wasn't selling it.
Yeah.
I was donating it or, giving it to fanzines. Or,
You were documenting hanging out with your friends and seeing
Yeah,
bands and
exactly.
stuff. At 13 years old, I think you started doing that, right?
Yep. I
Wow, man.
photographed. My first show was the Cramps and Castration Squad at the Whiskey in 1981.
Wow.
And that was the first document that I have.
Yeah. And that was the book is called, you put out was 14 in Shooting?
I did not put out a book.
Okay.
I put out a body of work, and I just call it 14 in Shooting.
Okay.
And shooting is clearly also about the drug use and the culture of that time.
Yeah. Wow. And so, yeah, it was like an art show, right?
I did an art show in 2006, and I did
Yeah.
it as an amateur art show without a book or without any promotion around it.
really
I
cool,
just
man.
did it as for the community, also for people to help me identify some of the people in the photos and for them to tell me their stories. I wanted to sort of hear their stories and their vantage point. And that's what I still do. I actually did a Kickstarter a couple years ago because I wanted to be able to digitize my collection. And I raised a good amount of money. I raised $12,000. Like,
Wow.
the community really showed up to help me.
Thank you, everybody who supported that. That's awesome.
Yeah, right. Maybe it was 8,000. I can't remember.
Still
but
a lot.
Ended
That's
up,
great.
It ended up costing me more than that because as I was going through, I didn't have 8,000 negatives like I thought. I had 12,000. And so even to this very day, I am still sorting through images and can't exactly figure out what the next step is going to be with it.
That's amazing. That'd be cool to see all that stuff, though. You pictures of Crass and Chili Peppers and Bad Religion and all those bands, right?
Yeah.
Like the early
Right. Yeah.
beginnings of
You
them.
could definitely see in the shift when it gets to be about 85 that a lot of the people that I start to photograph really are people that are, how do we say, held together by the drug scene as well as the love of music, more like the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. So Chili Peppers, it's kind of known.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And some of the bands from that time.
Yeah.
But I still do have, had the hardcore experience, that experience of where they call like the suburbs came into Los Angeles and kind of started forming
Yeah.
hardcore. And I love listening to Lindsay's interview that you did with
Lindsay Carmichael,
because he was talking about shows that we had both gone to.
Yeah.
Devonshire Downs, which was part of CSUN, that he was talking about seeing Black Flag at. I was at that show as well. And then listening to Angelo talking about coming into West Los Angeles and talking about the situation of busing in Los Angeles, because in my school, those are the kids that were being bused the kids, white kids were being bused into my school.
Okay.
And what it allowed was this cross culture of looking for kids that from the suburbs. I'd never met suburban kids that liked punk rock.
Okay.
I was from Venice, so we had this own challenging scene that was really challenging. It was really challenging to be in this scene. There was a lot of like knucklehead affiliation,
violent,
just
macho, or
oh my god, the worst.
Testosterone and
the worst. Okay, not the worst. No,
I can imagine. I read about, seen video, all that. It was crazy, violent. Too,
yeah. But the violence was also like, at least if you grew up affiliated, the violence wasn't randomized in that era. It became very randomized. You never knew who was going to be a victim and who was going to be a perpetrator ever. So it was like, that was kind of the worst aspects of it. You never really knew who your friends were unless you really committed to knowing who your friends were, which came with a whole other set of issues. Sorry if I'm talking cloaked, but I think
No, it's all good. No.
your listeners will know. So I met through a woman who was a girl who was bussed in to Webster, who I still know to this day. I met like Bad Religion and
Cool.
Caustic Cause and like these bands from basically the San Fernando Valley and Orange County.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So it kind of expanded 1981, 82, and 83 for me.
That's amazing.
In kind of like this way where, and then do you know that when I came back from San Francisco, I worked at Triple X Records.
Oh, shit, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. So in the booking department.
Okay.
So we handled like The Damned and GBH and
whoever was on there back then, yeah.
Right, but also bolted onto that, the guy who ran it, Doug Caron, was an East Coast hardcore guy, 100%. So he would bring in Bad Religion and all these different bands, Judge, Youth of Today.
That's cool.
And so I worked with all of those bands in the 80s. And then, L7's first record was on Epitaph.
Yes, I do know that. Yes.
Okay, so we were
it's in
like
my notes, yes.
one of the first releases. We were actually the second release, but right in the first like presentation of Epitaph Records. And we went on tour with Bad Religion for the Suffer Tour, which was 1988, 89. I'm going to say 89.
It's a great record.
It's a great record. But hardcore outside of CBGB's, the Axiom in Houston, nowhere in Los Angeles, and then San Francisco at like the Keystone just didn't exist. Or like Gilman Street was having trouble. Everyone was having trouble. Like, and we would show up to these shows like in St. Louis or in Boston with either nobody there. We're talking Bad Religion.
Wow,
with
man.
The bartender. You know what I mean? Nobody there. And then even in shows where these hardcore kids, which are part of the extension of the problem, but in different cities, would show up and just turn their backs and sit on the stage and just boo Bad Religion the whole time. Like almost
Weird.
as a...
What is the point, energy of that? That's crazy.
I think the point of it is that, you in that kind of environment, you need to find your enemies, right?
Okay,
you need to find and declare your enemies. So Bad Religion was serving a purpose. But then there's like, hey, we're L7. And they were just like, what? I mean, can you imagine the confusion when we took the stage? And L7 has been live, a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Deep, resonating, almost metal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the approach. And it, like those hardcore, they just did not see what's coming at all. There was, of course, metal present, but it was so genreified. Like that was the really start of the genres, right?
Wow, so you came back from San Francisco. How'd you do in college? Like, how was that? Computer science?
Completely dropped out. I mean, I dropped out. I came home in 85.
Wow.
85, 86, and then joined L7 late 86, and then worked in LA, 87, 88, 89.
Wow, man. So the band didn't work out. The other band with Courtney did that for a little bit and came back.
Yeah, we did. You know what? We did a recording, which I still have the master.
Wow.
And we took a lot of photographs. So there's stuff there. We're not exactly sure. I talked to her every once in a while to see what she wants to do with it. The other member was Kat Magellan, who later went on to a band called Babes in Toyland.
Okay.
So it was kind of a really interesting stew. So I came back to Los Angeles in... It's always a little blurry.
You have a great memory though.
Early 86. And then Courtney ended up following me down to Los Angeles. I like to say follow down. I'm going to say that there are parts of where she followed me, and she came down and she really admired what L7 was doing. She really wanted something like that for herself, along with other bands in our community.
Inspired her.
And she pulled together a band of people from LA that were the first lineup of Hole.
Wow, man.
Which included a guy that I had been dating for years named Mike Griesbrecht, who later went on to be in Gigi Allen's band, the Murder Junkies, which I'm so proud of. I've always had this weird, like, you guys grew up with Gigi Allen, right? We grew up with like, what the F is that? What the F is that? How did you let that happen in your community? Do you know what I mean? So I have a really great, like I never really think anything is ever good or bad. It's what serves and doesn't serve, right? And it's like always that. So, yeah.
Yeah, my wife saw them many a times, and talked about it yesterday. And Gigi used to always ask my wife to come dance and stuff. She's like, I dance and feel like I don't know how the heck she knew him. She has really crazy pictures of him that might go into the Museum of Death. They've asked her recently to have some of her photos from there, because she knew this guy. I don't know, listeners. I don't know how my wife knew this guy or whatever. But anyway, he died in the same venue that H2O played the next day at the gas station in Manhattan. He died the night before at the same venue.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
On the Bad Religion tour in 1989. Do you know Mike Gitter?
Of course. What up, Gitter?
course.
Shout out to Gitter. He listens. What up, Gitter?
Oh, has he been on the show yet?
No, yeah, but he listens. I'm gonna have you on, Gitter, Mike.
Bring him in.
Yes.
Bring him in. So we have been friends because of that connection with Triple X.
Triple X, yep.
You know, he's a writer and he did his own fanzine and he really was involved in the music scene.
Yes, he was.
And so at that period, I had never met him. You know, this was all the days when all those stories, writing letters, all this kind of stuff. And we were in Boston with Bad Religion, and I went to go meet him for the first time in a business hangout at his loft, wherever he lived, our apartment. And across the street was a Gigi Allen show in a venue, and they had stationed 2 guys outside the show dressed in black with shotguns. And I was and Mike was like, how can he do this to this? You know, just going off. And I, on the other hand, was just like, I have never seen that.
No, man.
In my entire life, that kind of organization where you are going to go into this show, really, like I'd always been to hardcore shows.
Yeah.
And like that impression of you are, you know, you're really testing the limits of survival. Like 100%. I know, you know what I mean? In some of the shows in Los Angeles. And that was like, wow, it has hit the crescendo.
That is crazy.
It's like the shark has been jumped in my mind.
Dudes with guns outside. Holy shit.
2 shotguns, but militarized. Do you know what I mean? Like when you...
Holy shit. Like, that's insane, man. So, wow. So you've seen Gigi Alley, you've seen him perform, obviously.
I didn't see him perform
ever.
Then.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I saw him perform quite a bit, after when. Later on.
Wow, man, that's crazy. All right, so now you're in L7, and your first record's on Epitaph, and so that tour. When you get back from that tour, from the Suffer tour, are you guys excited about? Was that like your first real tour, like national tour?
You know, I think that when I joined L7, one of the mindsets that shifted was this idea that we had to tour. Like I had that from the early hardcore days, like that you did not need to wait for a record company. You just needed to go, and you needed to have these experiences. And they were going to be messy. They weren't going to be perfect. They weren't going to be what came before you. Yeah. But you needed to go on that as an adventure. Yeah. And we, you know, I feel that we went on Epitaph because we would have that opportunity. It would make sense to people that were, I don't know what you want to say. I don't want to say the word fans. Let's use the word clients. Clients of Epitaph. I like that. That they would understand who we were in that context. They would understand that this is a band, a band provides you with like energy, and that you go see this band live. That's, you know? So when we got back with not that experience in our back pocket, there was some shift to maybe we needed to look at the Northwest, or we needed to look outside of Los Angeles. And we had been going up and playing in San Francisco, and we kind of had the opportunity. And like Courtney Love was working at this point in a record store in Portland, and she had sent me a package like at the Christmas of '89 that were records like Sonic Youth on Sub Pop, you know, Mudhoney, all those early protos that were on Sub Pop. But they also had hardcore bands too. Like Fits of Depression kind of was cycling in and out, and the Derelicts, you know what I mean? So it all kind of this made sense to me in this really interesting way. So we worked our way up there and got them to commit to doing Sub Pop. Do you know about Sub Pop? Yeah. Okay. So they had the Singles of the Month Club. Of the Month, right? Which was this really interesting way to do music, which was you paid a set amount of money per year and you received a 7-inch single at the beginning of each month. And it was either a different band or a split single.
That's cool.
So L7 had the full 45, both sides, both songs, as the single of the month for January 1990. Wow. And we went on to do an EP with them and all the things, all the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah.
Which also allowed us to go to Europe, because that's what we really had wanted to do. Yeah. Right. And we were never exactly sure if we were going to do a full length with them. And we actually never officially did. But, and this is the kind of thing that I was going to ask you about, or even there's a really interesting thing that I think in my participation of music history, which is that I have seen music distributed in all its modern forms. Okay. Like when I was a kid, you could get music books that would have written out music, and musicians could play this music, like they could play pop music or whatever it was, right? Publishing of music. Like as a songwriter, you would write songs and people would notate it and right? Publishing. And then vinyl recording, right? Yep. When we were on Epitaph, cassette was about to take over vinyl, right? So we had gotten to have on Epitaph vinyl and cassette. We wanted to do the compact disc or the CD, but Brett Gerwitz, who the owner of Epitaph, said, look, it's just going to be it just doesn't make sense to do this. It's going to be too expensive to do this. So it was always kind of our vision of the next label, we're going to have them do compact disc, right? Like this is our goal. Yeah. So we went on Sub Pop and we were like, we'll do, because the EP came out on vinyl. Yeah. It came out on cassette. And we were like, you got to do compact disc. And they said, no, we would only do this if you provide extended songs. So we went and did some recordings. We did some covers, and it came out on compact disc. However, what it did not come out on was vinyl, because right at that time, the extended release only came out on compact disc. Wow. Right? And then moving on, because I have more to this story, we signed with a local Los Angeles label called Slash Records. Yep. Proto-punk, like, OG LA punk label. X, Blasters, Los Lobos, like great.
I can see the logo right now. I remember the shit. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then later Misfits. So I'm like, this and Faith No More. Wow. So they had like this mix of these bands that ended up being able to, through the support of Slash Records, really successfully be able to tread between what I'm going to call indie punk and the scene. Yeah. But also in the commercialization that you would never question the Ramones or the Cramps on, right? But that was a topic at the time. And it felt like and it completely backfired. It did not work. But the thing that I'll say, in the narrative that I'm telling, again, no vinyl was released. Oh, right? Compact disc. So we, L7's release career has, or at least mine with L7, has bookended those two aspects of how music is received. Mm-hmm. This year, 2020, if this is when you're listening, marks the 30th anniversary of the L7 Smell the Magic release on Sub Pop. Wow. 1990 is considered the official release. Okay. And they did repackage on vinyl, and they only made 500 versions of the extended version of Smell the Magic. So you get the extra songs like Just Like Me and some of the other.
That already came out already?
It just came out, it's 2020, so it just came out and was like, okay, well, we were going to tour it, and we had the whole thing dialed. But it kind of means anyone who's listening right now, I think they're over at Kings Road merch, or possibly Sub Pop still has them, but there is hard product. Wow. Hard product. Yeah. Like hard product. What am I trying to say?
It took that many years. That's crazy, man. Wow. The single of the month was Shove It, right?
Shove. Just called Shove. Yeah, Get Out of My Way. I might shove. Very catchy, sung by Susie Gardner of L7, who, by the way, footnote, was also the female voice of Slip It In with Black Flag. Singing with Henry Rollins.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
She played the confused girl going, whatever that song was about.
That's a gem right there. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Susie is like me. Susie is also a little bit shy of like, well, what I did was that, like not really.
Yeah. I mean, I love the documentary. To go back to the documentary, I mean, I love it. And I just love how like L7 just didn't give a fuck. He just wanted to play music and be known as musicians and just play music. It didn't matter if you're girls or not. None of that shit mattered. It wasn't about like how you looked or image. Just fucking playing music and love what you play. And you would go off so hard, just like any person on stage. Like your stage presence was like you're in a hardcore band. It's awesome. I loved your energy. I mean, I learned so much about you just in that doc, just like your spirit and your love for the music. Yeah. You could see it and feel it.
Thank you.
It's awesome. And you're not even like were you like you learned how to play this stuff yourself. You didn't go take lessons or nothing, right?
No. Everything
Self-taught.
everything that I do in music is, I
experience.
love music, and music is magic to me. And I could feel the moment of learning how to become proficient at it kind of started to ruin it for me. And that's a lot of, my story with most visual arts is this idea of skill or proficiency kind of separates me from the spirit. I'm going to use the word spirit for lack of a better word.
That's a great word.
So I really, I always said, I'm not a bassist. I'm a performer. Like I
love that.
I go in, and it's not just performance. It's really about like knitting together the sonic, the visual, the performance, and the community. And all of it is important. It's not about me as a performer or a musician going out. It is, 99% the people that receive it.
Okay.
Right.
I love that actually.
And, holding together a community and what that means. Mm-hmm. So, for me going out and just being able to take this big thing that has 4 strings on it, that's the thing that came before me and the thing that, is now digitized, is more of a baton or an instrument, an axe or something else that a tool that you could look at. But because we emphasized going out in the live performance, I just got better at it. And I didn't just get better at it, I became an expert at it. So it's, something I do have as a skill set. People do say, can you play bass on this? And I'm always like, oh God, bass, that old whore. Who wants to hear that? I'm like, let's do something different. I'm part of the problem. I am part of the problem when it comes to, music and musicality. I'm just like, it was always a means to an end. It wasn't a means of really knowing it. And I've been surrounded by amazing musicians my whole life, not just good musicians, but thinkers, innovators, people that saw opportunity, people that didn't care if they didn't see opportunity and did it anyway. I mean, and one of my really early stories that I like to tell, coming back to the Chili Peppers, is, and I think that it's crafted both my failures and successes. I can narrow into one moment.
Okay.
I broke down and started dating other musicians.
Okay. Because
you go on tour, and that was the access, right? So one of the thing is, I would be able to pick people in the genres that were actually really exceptional and doing something really interesting because they interested me. Gotcha. And the only way like a woman would really be allowed to cohort is actually through relationship. Okay. Right? Which is kind of sad because I love to cohort. I love friends. I have male friends, seriously over 30-year relationships with men that
I love that.
I never dated. Like we were creative partners or we had something, because the one thing I know with men is they need a project in order to hang out. They're not just going to sit around and talk. So you invent something or figure something out. And that's my secret to my friendships with men. But I started dating musicians, and one of the first musicians that I dated was Cliff Martinez in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So this is really early on. Innovator. Thought about percussion in ways that no one did. Yeah. And was not expecting the success that the Chili Peppers started to have when they got signed. So there was an event where we were at a Chili Pepper show at what was the Palace and is now, I'm not sure what it's called, on Vine. And we were all sitting backstage, and the manager was sitting with them and said, look, we need photographs, and this is what we're going to do. They had just played their first large successful show, and you know what we mean when you and I know what we mean when we say large, over 300, right?
Yeah,
but under 400.
Okay, yeah.
500 is huge.
Yeah,
you know, and they did the thing, you know, and this is all the stuff that I kind of learned early on. Keep the show low, get the bodies in there, make it look like something's going on. So they wanted to do this thing where they had the band go out the front door through the crowd holding the girlfriends, and I was like, what? I don't understand. And they had photographers in the audience, and they were like, okay, let's go. And then all the girlfriends are kind of getting dragged behind, and Cliff was at the end. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we going through the audience? He's like, I don't know. He didn't really understand. No, the band didn't understand. They're like, I don't know. Let's just go. And I fucking pulled my hand off and like got swallowed in the crowd and said, I'm getting my own band.
Wow.
Right? And then
that's a fucking moment.
Kind of curated all of my successes and failures, like through time.
Wow.
It was just like the inability to be seen as a girlfriend or to be in that kind of partnership. And
holy shit, I love it. Why were they doing that? That's so weird. I don't know why.
It's not weird. Look back at marketing. That's, you know, I'm sure the photos from that are amazing. We know them how we know them now, right? They're a stadium rock band.
Yeah.
But they weren't then. And it's how do you make these kind of misfit, not classically good looking, definitely not conforming to pop music or rock music, not conforming at all, doing their own thing. What do you do with that? How do you make money from that, right?
It's very interesting.
From LA, we think about that stuff.
Yeah,
from LA.
Some of you said too is like, people say, what do you do? Like, I sing in a hardcore band. It's like, I don't know how to play any instruments. So I don't know if that means I'm not a musician, and I'm not a trained singer. It just happened. It was just I was a roadie, and it became this band and became a band. But I wasn't a trained singer. But then, like you said, as you started playing more and more, you started getting tired. I don't know. You learn I don't know. Your craft becomes something. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I became a singer. I guess I can keep a melody and I know how to sing well, but I didn't start that way, and it was just my friends wanting to write songs together. It wasn't like, I'm going to be a singer, you know what I mean? And like, I just did it.
Right.
So I do feel like I'm more of a front man, performer, I guess, than I am like an actual.
And you are an excellent.
Thank you. Than I am more a trained singer or like a musician. I don't know if I'm really a musician. I don't know. It's weird. 'Cause I can't play anything. I don't know. I guess that's just the title I'm supposed to have, I guess. I don't know.
How was your transition from going from somebody who was part of a support system to a front person?
What do you mean? Like from what I mean, like from a roadie to that? You mean?
I didn't want to say roadie. So I think you were always more than a roadie. You know, there was definitely a part of the '80s where we were all part of community and took our community with us. And I had met you. Do you remember meeting?
Long time ago, yeah.
I have always had this kind of thing about, people should always follow their intentions to be a performer, right?
Yeah.
But I know that there's this weird thing that people tell me, I want to be an actor, so I'm going to go be a lighting technician on film. And I'm always like, don't do that, because if you're good at your job as a lighting technician, people are going to secretly sabotage you when you try to act. You know, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Growing up in Los Angeles, I've kind of felt that way. So I've always myself have like made my money outside of the music community, you know, specifically outside of the community. Since working at XXX, I kind of realized that, I became a, content developer and, full stack developer, which is like website developer and software developer in the 90s. And I still work. I'm one of those people that always keeps a client or a job in my back pocket that's not music.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I love other things that I do. There are other things in life that aren't celebrated that I love. And I think like actually
other passions.
The software community actually came out of kind of the hardcore ethos of DIY and open source and all this stuff. So I was kind of involved in all of that stuff through the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing that you went to like, your story's crazy. It's just because, like, all the party and all the stuff you did, like, you still maintain getting good grades. You still read a lot. You went to college or tried to do that, and just like always pushing yourself and learning new things, and I taking photos, just everything. I love that. You always stayed focused regardless if you were
but this is a person looking back. It was messy, it was trying, and I could have died. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Or something else, I mean, as the destiny could have been, I probably should have, married some hardcore guy and went and raised babies in Indiana, ultimately, mixing meth in a bathtub with children at my feet. I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't happen that way.
Did you ever come close to that, like dying or overdosing? Or
all the time. I've 3 hospitalized overdoses, I think.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Overdoses, it's one of my topics, I guess, is, recovery.
Yeah.
Or harm reduction. I don't want to judge. I know that, early. Before I start talking about myself, can we just get back to you and the transition?
Let's go there real quick.
I want to know what's early.
Well, I mean, I was a roadie. I was always playing the role in the back. I would always, if Louis Sickaball jumped in the crowd, I'd pull him out. I was always dancing on the side of the stage. I end up in some videos, some of the hardcore videos back then. And, my roadie skills weren't the best, but I was the guy who was always fun, had energy, and they liked to have me on tour, even though I left drums behind in every state.
And once I saw one of your band members go into the audience and you visibly rolled your eyes before you went. You were just like, ah!
Really?
Yes. Timmy Johnson. I think it was Timmy, right? Was that the tour?
I don't know. What do you mean when the crowd? What do they do in the crowd? They go in the crowd, they die or something?
Went in the crowd and you were like, ugh! You went to go get them out.
Oh my God.
So funny. It was so great.
Was that my band or working for somebody else's band, you think?
It wasn't your band. This is the 90s.
Oh, yes. Probably have to pull somebody out, like tangled up. And who knows, man?
But see, I can't remember which Warped Tour it was.
You did Warped Tour in 95? You like one of the first Warped Tours.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the L7 story. A lot of firsts. We did a lot of firsts.
It's great, though. It's awesome. Yeah. That was with Siv, I think. Siv was on that tour.
Uh-huh. And I actually am tattooed by Siv from that tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're just getting started back then. I got a bunch from back then, too. Where'd you get tattooed? In New York on that tour or something? Or
on the tour bus.
Wow.
On the tour bus.
It still looks good, the tattoo? Came out good?
It's amazing.
Shout out to you, Siv.
Oh, I love those guys so much.
That was such a great tour, man. Wow.
It was a great tour. Sublime.
Yeah. Sublime. Who else was on that?
Orange 9mm.
Yeah, what up, Chaka? That's sick. Orange 9 was on there. Wow.
I have the funniest photographs of him because, he's a very...
charismatic.
He's very charismatic, but he is the kind of person that I love to photograph in that his downtime, it looks very reflective. And I just have the best series of moody photos of him where he's just on the side, and I feel they're very candid. So I don't show them a lot because they are these candid moments.
He'd probably love to see one though. That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I haven't connect you with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the transition was a roadie to front man. It was a joke. Sickaball wrote this song for me music wise, and then I wrote lyrics to it about my ex-girlfriend who cheated on me and ruined my life, and I didn't want to date
I'm starting my own band.
Yeah, I didn't want to date girls anymore. I didn't trust this girl. She ripped my heart out. My first love. I wrote this song, blah, blah, blah. And then it just became something that I made stickers and I named the band. I had stickers before I even had a song. I promoted it and then jumped on stage at Rancid, a bunch of things. Got signed to Blackout Records, and the next thing...
What year?
Got signed in 1995. First record came out in 96. And then after that, Rancid played our demo for Brett, and then they got us signed to Epitaph, which was a life changer. 97, 98, 99, we were under Epitaph. Yeah, that was one of the best times to be on Epitaph, man. It was incredible, man. Back in the 90s,
we paved the way for you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
We got the kinks out. Jay Bentley standing in the warehouse. I don't know what to do about it.
Wow, man. And then I remember Offspring blew up, and that changed everything for Epitaph. Wow, too.
Do you want me to tell you?
Year of punk.
The Offspring and Green Day opened for L7 at Gilman Street.
Wow. I need to see that flyer. That's sick.
Right? And
wow.
Ooh, the tables turn.
That's insane lineup.
But it was really interesting. I could feel I have my toe into their story slightly. Not to inject myself into everyone's history.
It's all good.
But they did ask, what is going on with Epitaph? What do you think? And I told them honestly, I thought that it was still maturing. Is that the right word? Still maturing. And I said, do not sell your publishing. And that, that's kind of like part of their story, is that they ended up selling their publishing, and it became really a lot of conflict. And
that's interesting because it was West Beach. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I signed Epitaph, we had the option for Brett Gurwitz to take our publishing to West Beach, whatever it was called. That's right. So
don't do that. Did you call me? Did you call me for me to tell you not to do that?
I didn't. We did do the publishing. It's okay. I know. It was just for those two records.
God.
But
you know what it is? No one ever took me seriously back then. I'm pretty sure. I mean, but I know I was like sloppy and like probably appeared whatever way, but like this wild thing. But I did kind of I understood what publishing was back then.
Yeah, so when you're signed to Epitaph, you do this thing where you can actually do a publishing deal through Brett and West Beach, and we did that with FTTW and Thick in the Water. We did do our publishing deal. Yeah, we did do that. But we didn't do it for the first record. We still have that, which is great. And then we did a major label, which we ain't got shit from that. And then the record after that, we had the publishing for that.
Did you not get shit, or did you get an advance?
Did we get an advance on...
Did you look at your...
We get an advance on Epitaph?
From the major label.
Oh yeah, we got an advance. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did get shit.
I know. We still get these. We still get these statements where like we still owe the money from 2001, like the money they gave you for videos and photo shoots.
Wasn't it crazy?
Absurd, man. It was
so crazy. So I am currently in the publishing space right now. I work for I'm helping develop the Weekly World News, which is an old school fake news publication.
Fake news publication. Okay.
Yeah, and that behavior happens in the publishing world, where larger publishers come and swallow up independent publishers and then say, we're going to advance you. We're going to invest in your business. We're going to invest 10,000. We're going to invest 100,000. And then what happens is you get this statement, they say like, we're going to fix up the website. We're going to do all this. And you get the statement. And the statement says, oh, we just charged you like $300,000 for a seriously $3,000 website. And it's like,
it's so true. Looking at that stuff.
But you're just like, ooh, the money. And I'm not. I'm they call me at work the wet blanket.
Okay.
I am the wet blanket. I am the dream killer, which has basically been my middle name since I was born. I'm just like, that's not going to work. That's not how it works. They're taking advantage of you. Step back, take a breath.
But I love that you speak how you feel. You know what I mean? Like that's, and I'm sure people working there don't have as much experience as you have through being in the industry most of your life. You know what I mean? So what you're doing now, I'm saying like, you've been through all the ups and downs, the highs and lows of being in a band, different labels, independent, all that.
So when you
lived it.
When you were on stage working for bands, were you sitting there going, that could easily be me?
It wasn't that. It was like, I have something to say. I always wrote in a journal on tour. Nice. And I was like, I want to say something. I didn't say I could do that or do that better. Like, I have a lot of energy. I feel like I have something to say. So I started writing my first songs like in 91, 92 on tour, Sick of It All in Europe. Just writing like notes and stuff. And yeah, I loved hardcore and punk so much. And I was so involved since at a very young age, either in the crowd or on the stage. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be behind the scenes anymore. I'm going to do it. And I did it. And fucking 25 years later, I'm still in the same band, which is very lucky,
Yeah, right.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So back to L7 for. Oh, you're going to start talking about something about you before you talked about me. But what were we going to say before that? You were saying something about yourself and wasn't about sobriety. It was. Do you know what you're saying? Because if not, I'm going to go right to here.
Go right to there.
When you drop 1992, Bricks Are Heavy. Shit list. Mm-hmm. Great fucking song, man.
Such a great song.
So this is when things became, I don't want to say more real, but established. I don't know what word to say for this when this record came out, because it changed a lot, didn't it? Pretend We're Dead's on there.
Well, again, L7 first through the door. We were recording Bricks Are Heavy when Nirvana's Nevermind was released.
That's right.
And that was, I want to say, one of the last dying breaths of the music industry. I mean, it took a while for it to completely call time of death, but what they were doing was really trying to buy out anything that was alternative to control the narrative, right? Of what is going to be considered alternative. So alternative, so first we're DIY, now we're alternative, all these different things. So, not to get too detailed into what happened, But there was a thing called upstreaming that happened with Slash. We signed to Slash. We wanted to be part of the Slash family. We wanted to work with Slash, but because Nirvana had gotten popular, we were transferred over to Warner Brothers really quickly, midstream of a song being released. And that was either a decision on the part of Warner Brothers to not have to put more money into us, or really attempt thinking that they were doing the right thing. I don't know what they were thinking. Yeah. Honestly, you know, I haven't gone back. I have also, even later than that, had been in a band that in 1999 was signed to A&M Records called Other Star People. And I guess I'm going to say I did. It is my story. Experienced the final last gasp of the record industry when all of those labels toppled, including A&M, and we got moved over to Interscope.
Yeah.
Who had been basically sitting on the chest of No Doubt for years.
Yes.
When we went over, we came over with our label had a mandate to promote us. Interscope basically said, we already have No Doubt because, you know, you can't have more than one vagina on a record label.
Jesus.
So I experienced a lot, you know, even more disappointment of the false start. I mean, or I don't know what to say, just like the inability to be able to reach more audience, to play music for more people, which has always just been the goal.
100%.
Yeah. And
wow.
So that really bridged, like, for my attempt at being a recording artist and professional musician.
So when that comes out, that record comes out, how's the response for that?
For Bricks Are Heavy?
Yeah.
Very good.
Because you guys have been touring and building up and shows again.
Yeah, but I think that we were playing to an audience that already knew us.
Yeah.
We had already built that audience. That was our audience. We weren't reaching any new ears by it, you know? And within our own, you know, I feel within our own scene, which I guess at the time you'd call, I hate the word grunge, but, you know, like a alternative DIY Northwest, you know, it became fractured. You know, like by 1993, there was a lot of the I'm going to call it the gentrification of hardcore as it moved forward through the 90s.
Yeah.
And, you know, Riot Girl coming up was actually like kind of problematic because we were being held up as something they were working against, which is fine. That's what every generation should do. And although they're really the same, they're my age.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't, they were in college and I was working day jobs to support a touring career. Oh my God. And by the way, I love them, by the way. Absolutely love them, of course. And
but you were already doing your thing. L7 was doing your own thing. You were doing your thing already.
Oh yeah, I mean, since I joined the band in '86, we were playing shows in LA in '87, and then touring the country and outside of Los Angeles in '88, and then, you know, with eyes on international touring and national touring in '89. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, but the shit list kind of hit. Does it come out as something that? Get you to a different audience?
It had the word shit in it. It wasn't coming out to anybody. This was we had on the front
so catchy, though.
Of Bricks Are Heavy, the front of the label, like an adult warning.
Damn.
Not adult warning. What did you call those?
Parent advisory.
Parent advisory, you know, which we incorporated into the artwork of the record.
I love that.
Yeah, that was like the thing that, like, the culture wars, the extension of the culture wars and stuff like that, like, people just don't look back and don't understand because it seems so bizarre when you look back. No one can understand what censorship was, or, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but not the other issues, you know?
Wow. So do you guys go on a big tour for that? Bricks Are Heavy? Despite
tons of
the
them.
label shit,
lots
and all that
of them,
stuff?
tons. We went out. We toured with the Beastie Boys.
Wow.
We toured with House of Pain.
Wow.
We did, you know, work with Nirvana. We worked with Pearl Jam. You know, anyone of that era and ilk, we were in that mix.
The mix. I might have started with House of Pain. Was that in New York too? Did that hit New York?
That tour?
Pain? Yeah. Had to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I was friends with them. I definitely saw you guys in that. And Pretend We're Dead's on that record, correct?
Yes.
So how'd that one go? That sounds that's like a anthematic, fucking catchy ass, awesome song.
Yeah, it did okay on radio. We got a couple of those, like, early MTV kind of little pats on the back, which were the novelty late night shows or, you know, Headbangers Ball kind of stuff.
Yeah. Alternative
the
show.
The alternative shows. Penfield. But, you know, it never you know, grew enough support to be able to like march into the mainstream or the prime time. I guess you could call it prime time.
Yeah. Wow, man. I mean, so what were you guys' feelings during that time as far as like with the label and just everything? And I don't know.
I was seethingly and silently resentful. I think everyone else had a good time. I was cranky and morbid. But
did you have goals? Did you have goals at that time for the band and where you wanted the band to be?
Well, it was interesting because that was the time when we really were looking at like, okay, we're not the ones that, you know, develop our product. You know, we were developing our own product. We were marketing ourselves. We were doing all of the things, you know. Yeah. And, you know, when you go onto the major label, you relinquish control. And also we got a management company that I kind of didn't, I love them as people, but felt really flawed and how everything was going down. And then it just proceeded from there.
Yeah. Did you guys always have managers throughout your career, or was this something new?
That was, you don't really need managers until there's something to manage.
It's true.
And managers really operate in between, you know, provide buffer between a band and a business. Like that's what managers are. Yeah. So yeah, we did get management. We don't even have management now.
Yeah, I was either for a long time.
We, you know, have great people that help support us in touring. Pete Stahl is one of them.
Oh, Pete Stahl from Scream?
Pete Stahl. I would say,
wow.
You know, he manages all of our aspects of touring to this day.
That's incredible.
Which started, you know, when, I mean, it started when I worked at Triple X and
Dave Grohl's in Scream too. That's right.
That's right. Brought the Dave Grohl Scream to Los Angeles to play at the Country Club.
Holy
with Bad
shit.
Religion.
Wow, incredible band.
Right, so that's when I met
band.
Pete the first time, Pete and Franz the first time.
Holy shit, that's right, Franz.
And then we, our careers have kind of paralleled. They did Wool, they moved to Los Angeles. We shared practice space with them.
Interesting.
All the things, and then still work with them.
Skeeter was
with Pete.
Skeeter was in there. Skeeter was in the band.
Yes, Skeeter.
Yeah. What an incredible band, Scream. This Side Up, Still Screaming. Oh, my God, incredible fucking albums, dude.
Yeah.
Live band, too. Great.
Yeah. So, you know, one of those things about being on a major label for everyone involved was that we could take our good guy friends, Scream, on tour, which also featured Chris Bratton of Chain of Strength.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know he was in Scream. Wow.
Yes. And then that's when I met Chris Bratton because I had never seen Chain of Strength. Of all the times, I've never seen Chain of Strength. And we're practically neighbors. Chris Bratton and I started a project called Other Star People. Okay. Right? And then Other Star People, we added other members. And then that was the band that got signed to A&M. Okay.
Wow, everything's full circle. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. As time goes on, you really, the playing fields get smaller and the players get more potent.
You seem like somebody that was were you like, not the business person of the band, but you had the passion and the push and to keep going and get the band to a different audience. Was that mostly you? Not saying mostly you, but
no, everyone in L7, that's the thing that's like frustrating about L7 is that we are 4 women with very unique, awesome experiences, talents, and voices. Yeah. And like that kind of thing, it just doesn't work in a world where even to this day, the focus is narrowed and narrowed and narrowed to the point now where, there's corps and bands that are just, TikTok and creating music, and they're the central focus. They're not a band. They're 1 or 2 people that, create music. And I love it. I love it. I am not one of those, the problem with kids today and music that. And I always saw all the potential in the carry on of the DIY. Yeah. Whether it was hyphy, whether it was
hyphy, check you whatever, out. Oh, shit.
Whatever, hyphy, whoever it was, white girl mob. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw what it means to create music and take it to people and like what that means, and just because it sounded different at the time
Yeah.
looked different, like the complexion or the culture. That was still what was happening, and that's what I know.
Yeah.
So I still am strongly supportive of people that come out and get, attention.
Yeah.
Because they look good and sound good and are serving some kind of purpose.
Yeah. It's funny you say TikTok. My son is on there right in there too, and he's just doing these videos the other day and all this stuff, and it just makes kids become more creative. I think I do like that. There's such insane stuff on
it's
there, man.
the thing that I hate is like, because I work in that industry, and all of a sudden it's like something, like, oh, the kids are on TikTok, and there's just these creepy adults that just want to find a way to insert themselves into like the narrative of the next big thing. And it's just like, oh, I'm hoping that the kids, I hope and pray that those kids are going somewhere to talk to each other that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Because how can they, we got to have those conversations together and grow together without marketing influence other than in like what we created.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And it's just like, ugh, kids today.
Yeah. So people come and try to take that and ruin it or exploit it or just anything to it, make it.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah. A lot of parents are like, you are so remarkable. Can you talk to my daughter? And I'm just like, no. No. You don't, your daughter, you do not want the experience that for your daughter that I had, 1, and 2, she should be having a specific experience for her emotional development with her peers.
Yeah, I agree.
Or a little bit older or a little bit younger. I'm not but not a 54-year-old, washed up.
You don't look 54, by the way. You look awesome. You're aging very well.
Thank you.
You do not look 54.
My secret is don't do anything. I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't do anything. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't put it in the sun. Don't over-exercise. Don't go to yoga every day. That's just going to make you look older.
Just live.
Just live. Just live and love. Live and love.
Was it a moment? What was a moment, if it's a moment, or when you became sober, what was the last thing that happened? You were like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
Wow. Well, I think that it's, definitely it's something that comes through time. But when L7... I would never use and perform. So if anybody has seen me perform through the 80s, you did not see me high, except for those 2 times.
2 times.
Those 2 times. One of them was L7 was on tour with a Seattle band called Cat Butt. We were on Sub
Cat Butt?
Cat Butt.
Okay.
And we played. This is a good one. Was it CBGB's or was it Pyramid? As a person not from New York, I sometimes will
both
confuse.
Great venues. Both
great venues. Both very hard to park the van. Both where I learned how to parallel park a trailer. Yeah. I hated your city. Your city.
One's on Avenue A and one's on Bowery.
Everybody in L7 would be like, we're playing New York. And like, oh, let's be together and like drive into New York and we're going to see New York skyline. This is going to be so great. And it's because I'm the wet blanket. I'd be like, where are we going to park the van? Where are we going to set up the T-shirts? I don't see a wall that's clean. And considering I'm the one that has read stories about Max's Kansas City and like, and CBGB's and completely, what's it called when you take something in your brain and you just make it way bigger than it should be? Like you heroify it or like you know what I mean? That was New York. And I got to do drugs in New York too. So,
wow.
But we're just going to say that Becky Reck from the Lunatics showed up and said, hey, I have some stuff because she who is also clean now. Like,
shout out to Lunatics.
I have this stuff I'm like, I never use and I perform. And she said, it's not that strong. It's not that strong. Just try it. And there's this really funny thing about heroin that it can just have different effects on different people.
Yeah.
And on me, it plowed me out. Like I was just like, oh, kissing, boosh, and you'd think, come on, I'm a rock star. Someone should give me some leeway on this. Oh my God, the other women in L7 were like, you're not in the band anymore. You can go join a band with Becky Reck. And I was like,
Are you serious? Are you serious?
I know, I'm being really bad. Yeah, it was just like one of those fights,
How was your performance that night?
It was stellar. Wow. I don't know.
Were you the only person in the band that partied that hard? Not to blow up anybody else's spot.
Yeah, I can't blow them. I can't blow
yes,
them up.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think that there's different levels of party,
Yeah.
different levels of risk, different substances. Some are more
Totally.
acceptable than others.
Some are harder than the others. Yeah.
Some are harder than others. Some craft different results
Yeah.
than others. And it's really like you're dealing with the wake of the result. But yeah, I was clean. I was clean in 90.
What was the second time you performed?
Okay, so the second time was here in Los Angeles. Sub Pop had come down in 89, so prior to the record, and we were playing with this really great venue in Los Angeles. It was an old theater that's no longer around anymore. And I was at a friend's house, and all of a sudden I couldn't get off the bathroom floor. I didn't know what was going on. I was paralytic, like could not move. And I knew that he had drugs. So I said, I something's going on with my body. I don't know if it's the result of using. I don't know if it's psychological. I don't know what is going on. But then that was when I was like, okay, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. But of course, most drug users, there's no defining moment. And you just wake up, I'm done. It took some time.
It was hard, right?
Right. But that realization happened at those points. Can I have some water?
Yeah, of course.
This is too strong.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I'm going to give you some liquid death. I'm going to get some liquid death. Hang on.
Wait, but is it water?
You can keep talking. Just keep talking. Say whatever you want.
So then when I was 12.
It's really strong, right?
Yay.
Are you getting hyped up?
I'm getting something which feels a little bit dizzy. Woo! Thank you.
Death.
I like that it pops.
Dude, I love the sound of it, and I love the taste of it. I don't know why it's something in a can. Like, I never really... People think it's a beer, but it's not, whatever.
It does look like a beer.
That's what's cool about it, I think, though.
Really?
I mean, for me, because I never drank a beer before, it just looks like, I don't know.
So who's your oldest guy friend?
That's a great question.
Not oldest, but long-term guy friend.
My oldest guy friend. Wow, it's a really great question. Did I still have Rusty Pistachio, my guitar player?
Nice.
I met Rusty. I met Rusty when I was like 13 years old in Maryland, and he was a maintenance man, and my mom was his manager, his boss. That's when I met Rusty.
And because you had a project all these years, you're friends.
Yeah, he's almost became my dad, because my dad died when I was 3, and then when I met Rusty, he was like a father figure to me in Maryland, and he was a little bit older, and he kind of took us under his wing. Yeah, Rusty's like a father figure to me. Yeah, shout out to Rusty. I love you, Rusty. Yeah, and he became in the band, and I was like my big brother. He lives in South Carolina now. He moved away. He just moved during this lockdown. Love you, Rusty. Hope you get out there in South Carolina. He just made a move because him and his wife got some property out there, and they kept going back and forth. And he's like, we're just going to go stay there for a little while, and now he left. So it was pretty sad. He drove away in a moving truck and came by in the moving truck and waved to me and said goodbye to me. It was like emotional. It was like saying goodbye to my dad. It was pretty sucked.
Wow.
Sucked. Yeah.
How about a woman friend?
Well, besides my wife, which I'm married to 25 years.
Because you have a project together.
Yeah, exactly. A woman that I've known for a long time. Holy crap, man.
How about BJ Pappas? Do you ever talk to him?
BJ Pappas, yeah. And my friend Shauna Kinney, who lives out here. You know Shauna? Yeah. Shauna, we met in high school in Maryland, and then we used to go to shows in D.C. together. Yeah, Shauna Kinney. That's
I didn't know you lived in D.C.
I lived in Maryland, where she lived. That's where I met Rusty and her lived there, yeah. That's how we met. So we started going to shows in D.C. in the early 80s. Got to see like...
The field gets smaller and the players get more potent.
I got to go see... I got to see Embrace a couple times. Rites of Spring. Got to see Fugazi's second show.
Wow.
Cool show. One of my
which phase was Rites of Spring?
Right in the beginning when they first came out, man. That's original emo. But one of my first real shows was Circle Jerks, Corrosion Conformity, Madhouse. In DC. It was scary. COC, yeah.
Love it.
In DC. Yeah, so I'd say Shauna Kinney, one of my oldest friends from back then, still lives in Los Angeles. That's like over 30 years. That's a great question. You should have your own podcast. All right, so then you got Hunger for Stink.
Hungry for Stink.
Hungry for Stink, yeah. 1994. Was that a great time?
It was an interesting time. It was
like towards the end of
it was really, it's like we had experienced again this kind of like what I'm going to say, genreification of punk rock.
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think, moved L7 a little farther away. We still produced an amazing record. That is an amazing record.
Can I say one thing about L7? That you guys weren't grunge, and just because grunge came out and had that name, you were already L7. You already had your own sound.
Right.
Maybe you got categorized into that, but L7 was L7. It was a mix between hardcore, punk, metal, just everything. I think personally, it didn't have to have that.
Right.
But unfortunately, you got pushed into that.
Right. And to this day, I mean, the embracing of particularly the European metal community, who've always embraced like harder American music, no matter how we thought of ourselves, have still been supportive. Like L7 still plays Hellfest and like
great festival.
Yeah, I know, right? We still play those festivals, and that is our audience.
Yeah,
So
was it kind of hard because L7 really didn't have a title for what type of music you got? You loved all types of music, and I don't know. It's weird. You guys had your own thing. I think. I don't know.
No, I think
So it's kind of hard to place you. Maybe sign you to a label.
You know what? Being an innovator is you just do it.
Yeah,
you just do it.
At that point, because I know I think that was your last. Wasn't your last record with them? Was it your last record with them? That album, right?
I went on and I went through the beauty process.
Okay, that's right.
I actually played on it.
Yeah,
but I had to leave. I was just so done. Not with L7. I loved L7, but I was with Life. I really needed something to happen. And, I went to them and just like, the thing is, when you enter the realm of like professionalized music cycle, you make a record, you make some money, you have to tour, you have to do a video, you have to go do this. Everyone is counting on you. Everyone is making money from you. So I kind of went in and just said, I might be able to support this, but I probably can't. Mm-hmm. And I definitely waited to inform until they had gotten like the money that they needed to produce that record, to make that record. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I was a primary member of that band. So stepping out legally was going to be really hard, but we figured out a way to do it, and it happened, and I got what I needed. Yeah. And they went on and they produced great records after me as well. A live record.
Did it feel like a job and work at that point for you? Like, got to go labor, got to make the record, got to do the tour, got to do the press, got to do the video. Did it feel like you became, I don't know.
No, it kind of felt like I was taken by my feet and slammed against concrete.
Damn.
That's what it felt like. I mean, it just felt like an endurance gig at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, we shared everything.
Okay.
And I also knew if I stepped out and could do something else, the financial survival of L7 could actually maybe happen. But we were really looking at running in the red. L7 is that's the thing. Like, people to this day say, how much do you make on L7? What do you make on L7? What do you get? And I'm like, the most I have personally ever received at the height of our career was around $55,000, which is fine. But the other years were 15, 10, 8. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm also, by the way, I'm really good at accounting. Okay. I'm really good.
I'm not surprised.
And it's not about money. It's about value. Yeah. So I really understand what putting out energy means versus bringing it back in. Yeah. So, and which kind of, it's a great trait, actually. Mm-hmm. I never really thought of it that way. Thank you for the therapy session.
You're very smart, and you're also, I feel like you wanted to know everything you're involved in, so you probably knew everything about the music industry, the advances, the recording budget. I feel like you just wanted to know, not because you cared about money or you wanted to be in the industry, it's because you want to know what you were dealing with. This was your life. This is what you're doing.
Famously, in the Pretend We're Dead documentary,
great documentary,
which we're going to bring up right now because it is really amazing, and it's available to all listeners. Please be sure to watch it.
It's really great, man. It's really great.
There's a part where London Records, who was our Warner Brothers counterpart in England, sent limos for us to the airport.
Who's paying for these? Yeah, it was great.
And I was just like, who's paying for this? And the woman at the record company turns and says, "You are, darling." And I was just like,
that's a great moment.
Because that's like one of those moments. I mean, it's so silly and whatever, but that was one of those moments that you can really define as like, I knew who was paying for it. It was rhetorical. And
one lady was take you out for dinner, and then you fucking get the
and you get the bill.
And so true.
And it just
shady. Schmoozing, all that stuff. I hated all the business part of being in the band. All that, the label, just all that, man. Just the schmoozing and the labels, and I don't know, man. Just the part that's business part. I always hate it, but I knew you had to have it, especially if you're gonna do it as a career or do it for longevity, whatever. It all comes with it, but it still sucks. I don't know. I just never really. That's why I have my wife. My wife's a bookkeeper. She's been doing our books for, I don't know, a long time, or almost 20 years. Have my wife in the mix, watching all of us and having our backs and dealing with that shit.
Yeah.
Because we had business managers and managers. We had major label. We had booking agents, all that stuff. People taking like 30% at sometimes. Like, for what, man? All that stuff is just draining, man.
Oh,
just
I
thinking
know.
about it. And most of the shows you get through your friends, oh, these guys Ransom want to give you a tour, or give you, or Dropkick Murphys, and they give it to you. But then the booking agent has to get it because he's there, just hanging there.
And
just
then
all that stuff.
the other part of it is you end up working with people who are doing it, based on equity, right? They're getting paid if you get paid. I think that there's a lot of, we pay the people that work for us. They get paid first. You know what I mean?
Before we do something, yeah.
Yeah, they get paid first. So even if it's somebody, not so much. I mean, we do have an agent.
Yeah, we do
but
too.
the people that do the production, figure out what amp cases we need or what we need to send on a flight. I mean, all of that logistics.
Yeah. I think in the doc you guys say something like you were touring so much, but you're making like $400 or something one month or something like that. Something crazy.
Dude,
because the tour bus is all that money too.
Yeah. I mean, but it was...
But you want to be comfortable too and sleep and get rest and perform.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're out 9 months out of the year, you can't be in a van.
You kill each other and fucking hate what you're doing.
You can be smart about it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that felt out of control. It felt like we could be smart about it and we could understand where that money, so that at the end...
You were paying attention, it seemed like, to a lot of the details.
I just rolled my eyes, looked down, and started playing with the side of my shirt like I'm 4 years old. 4 years old.
What may have came? You said like the wet blanket. What may have came off that way? You were actually looking. I'm not speaking for you or about your band. It seems like you were on point and paying attention to little details that maybe some people were like, "Oh, she's just being the wet blanket," but in reality, you were like, "Yo,
right,
this in here," and I don't know.
But I'm going to tell you, looking back, I don't know any other way. I mean, I don't know. There's no other way that I think it could have been done. And I'm not exactly sure. You know what I mean? So it was what it was, and sometimes you just need to make those sacrifices. But I knew I couldn't do, when we were doing the beauty process, I knew I could not work at the rate that we were working and have a job, because we were going to need to have jobs. We were going to need to go back to having day jobs. There was no way around it, and still be able to survive these life-changing events that happened for me. The death of a very good friend when we were on tour, fucking killed me. Wow, man. The death of my father right before we went on Warped Tour, which is the tattoo that Siv gave me is my father's signature from the last birthday card that he gave me.
That's sweet.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you my tattoo artists, and you tell me if you have the same artists. Okay.
Let's do it.
Do you have anyone outside of the U.S.? Did you ever go to Hanky Panky?
No, I know he has so much
Okay.
respect to know him. That's cool.
How about Igor Mortis?
No, I know the names now, man.
Okay.
You got tattooed
Bernie
on tour.
Luther?
I know the names, yeah. So you got tattooed on tour a bunch.
I got tattooed before touring because I used to just go runabout. I used to runabout. Like when I was a teenager, I went to Europe. I stayed in squats.
Okay.
I mean,
That's sick. So you get tattooed a bunch abroad and all that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of tattoos, but the ones that I have are.
Those are some seriously respectful names you have on it. Yeah, like that's legit. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think all we have is the same as Siv, and I was his guinea pig, and I have a bunch of tattoos on my body. He's doing his apartment on Avenue B. I have a lot from Siv, and he redid them later on when he got better.
Yeah, I really want Lindsay to do something for me, but I'm not like
listening.
You get to a certain the thing, I've already talked to him, but really the reality is I ain't going anywhere, so he has to come up to LA, and I don't want to ask anyone to do that.
House call.
Do you think I could?
Totally. Lindsay would do that for sure.
Will you cut this part out?
Yeah.
Do you have anything more? What do you have more? Because I feel like we're just going to be...
No, I love all this. I mean, you were in Decline of the Western Civilization, which I think is incredible. You're just in there, right? Just being you. You're just like a kid at the show or something.
Kid at the show.
That's amazing. And then you were in a whole video as well.
Yeah, so that was later. That was the 90s. They had lost a bass player to overdose. Yep. So for the song Doll Parts.
Yep.
As in the video, yep.
Love that record.
Yeah, Cordy and I are still remain friends today.
I mean,
To this day. And I mean, talk about an amazing career arc and public facing villain hero. She is amazing. And oh gosh, it's so great to just be with her in this world.
It's amazing. It's a long friendship. Also, Umbar, we both have a person we both lost. I was with him, was sick of it all. I don't know if that was after, before L7, but he passed away, Umbar. And I saw him in the doc, and that was pretty heavy because I haven't seen him in years. That was pretty heavy.
I can't watch the doc because of that. I'm just letting you know. I watched the doc one time because they needed, we were doing edits and, right?
Yeah.
And I did not want to be involved in anything of that. I actually did, when I wasn't taking photos, I was filming. So it's interesting because it's hard from my perspective of the doc.
Yeah.
But in my perspective, I'm not in a lot of the shots because I was taking the shots.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that, but I guess it really is the presence of L7. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, I'm going through my notes now because I feel like you don't like talking about yourself, which I love that you're very humble and a wonderful person. But there's so many things that you end up doing, like even producing like the Ramones Kids album. You involved in that, right?
Yep,
I remember that record. That was awesome. I remember that.
I wish that's another thing that kind of, it was on Go-Kart.
Yeah, Go-Kart.
And Go-Kart
records,
was having problems right at the end, like everybody else. I feel like that project kind of got lost in the licensing.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to those guys and try to kind of reboot it somehow.
Or do another one, like a part 2 or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
And then,
to work in a position where I would showing up with Jack Grisham and
ooh, badass.
I mean, just being like in a production role, like to be like, I'm here to facilitate you to do the best vocal you can do. So how do you need me to support you?
Yeah.
Was, Blag Dahlia. Can you imagine? I've known Blag Dahlia from the Dwarves since the 80s or something.
Wow.
And again, it's just like sitting across from these amazing people. Josie Cotton, who's one of my all-time favorite and underappreciated, personalities.
Yeah.
I love just having that juice to call and say, hey, I'm doing this thing for, St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And would you want to come and do a track?
You should do a part 2. Now's the time. People want to do stuff. They want to be creative right now on lockdown. It's like everybody's got home studios. You could do something really cool, man.
Thank you.
I think it'd be totally possible. And you in the John Waters Serial Moms?
Yeah, L7 played a role in Serial Mom.
Camel Lips?
Camel Lips, yeah.
That's amazing.
Which, I mean, again, talk about being in the energy of such a dynamic human. And 2 years ago, it's now 2020, so this possibly could have been 2019 or 2018. We went and sort of performed, I guess you would say, for John Waters' birthday.
Oh,
and
wow.
again, got to hang out with him and do
That's
some
amazing.
signings and just catch up.
Yeah. He's incredible, man. What a genius, man. Incredible movies. Mm-hmm. And then you did something with with Office Space?
I did. So after L7,
great movie.
After L7, I was in the band with Chris Bratton.
Yeah.
And then later with Todd Phillips, who was in Bullet La Volta. I don't know if you know.
I remember that name, maybe.
Right. So we all just started this, again, a sort of a collective of music writers.
Yep.
And we did produced a song called Then There's None, which came out on A&M and then went to Interscope. And that was used as the theme, kind of the theme reoccurring song in Office Space.
That's a big movie too, man.
Yeah. And we also had, there's another weird thing about my career is a lot of the songs that I wrote, because I controlled the publishing, went out to many different, all through
Degrassi
Jackass years, Degrassi, Buffy the Vampire, Roswell.
Wow.
I kind of got to be on the soundtracks of a lot of those television shows, which I kind of think was a last great era of crap television.
Degrassi and all that, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All before the reality shows and...
Yeah, before the budgets got cut and the writers' strikes and all the stuff. All the things. The things.
Degrassi High, fucking... I'm not going to ask you that one. Oh,
what
yeah.
one?
These are just some of the people we dated, but that's irrelevant, stupid.
Wait, what?
No, just...
all the
No,
people
'cause
you gave rather stupid. That's
no,
what I heard.
No, because you mentioned like dating some musicians, but it's irrelevant.
Oh, dating. Oh, yeah, I dated. I ended up dating musicians,
Yeah.
but I ended up marrying a NASCAR driver.
That's
So
right.
I want that noun. A NASCAR driver, inventor, actor.
That's right. I have written down right here too. Holy shit, that's right. Chris
Chris
Yes.
Pedersen. And again,
Yes, how that-
best friends since we were both little kids. Grew up in the hardcore scene. We went to BYO shows together.
BYO.
Do you know what I mean? Like we were right up there in front. And then like, seriously, it was one of those things like, I'm heart stricken from, I don't know what's going on with the L7 stuff and like Umbar and my dad. And he's, like, what are we going to do with our lives? Like, do you want to get literally? I was like, we're best friends. Let's get married. And it was so sweet.
God, it's beautiful.
It was so beautiful. But, it just didn't like it. One of those things where, it just
Maybe
didn't-
7 years.
Yeah, I think officially 10 years. There were some lingering years. But really great, awesome guy. Great. My heart was broken when we divorced, of course. But, you look back and you're just like, wow, this was just this amazing person to have gone through life with, and like such a fun kind of time.
I'm sure you guys are still close, still friends, all that.
We're well, here's the thing is I do have many male friends, but they often get married and it becomes difficult. Like the dynamic changes.
Yeah.
And I do have a really good sense of like, I would always hold space for them or their wives or their families. But you start to, it like interferes in the traditional dynamic to have this kind of loose ex wandering around. And I've gone to at least 2 of my really good guy friends' weddings on my own and been put in like the weird table, the one that's in the back
corner.
of like, and it's just like, wow, I understand it. I'm not resentful, but I understand it.
Interesting.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I think that's, because your friends. It's just...
Well, there's this, there's this thing that we're always taught about competing and family and like resource competing and what it means and, the coupling up and I guess it's important. It works, right? So
Yeah. I'm going to fast forward through all this stuff because I know you don't feel weird talking about all your stuff, but like Diamonds in the Belly of a Dog, right? That
right.
album?
So that was the album that came out originally on A&M that went over to Interscope and kind of just clunked. But it is available on iTunes. It has some really interesting songs on it. I think it's one of the most interesting, I feel like, records that I had made. It was produced by Roy Thomas Baker, who produced Queen.
Oh, wow.
And Journey.
Okay.
And it
Damn.
was meant with Chris Bratton and I originally, and Xander Smith, who is our other creative partner in it, and Junko Ito, who is our other creative partner. It was meant to be kind of a pop parody.
Okay.
Kind of like really taking the sickening parts of pop and going lo-fi. And
I love that.
It turned into something different when it was produced. And, we all get together once in a while and we go, oh, why did we do that? But okay, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I got to experience what it was like to be with a producer of that intensity.
Yeah, that's awesome. You work with that person for sure.
Yeah. So, and really that's what made me want a better musician, because he commanded excellence. I have a really...
Was that intimidating to be working with that guy?
Oh my God, because I'll tell you, a lot of his... intimidation was one of his techniques to have creative excellence. And there was a time I was working with my creative partners, Xander Smith and Chris Bratton, when they would be like, Roy, how did you get that sound on the Cars? That was so cool. Like, what amp did you use? Like, what pedal did you use?
Nerding out questions, yeah.
Yeah, and Roy would just go, oh, darling, that is musicianship, not trickery.
Wow.
And it would make the boys were just looking for a way. Like, and I'm going to say boys because they were looking for a way to connect with this man who's multiple Grammy Award winning guy. And he would just rip them apart. And his other tactic was to support me. You're doing so good. Oh my God, your voice is a little raspy there. Let's hit that higher note. And it basically destroyed our band. Chris was like, I'm out. Like Chris was, I'm out. And I'm like, you can't leave me. You can't leave me. And he's like, this is BS. And he was out.
Wow, man.
And then we got,
Right?
We actually got the studio musicians that played on that record secretly, like if anyone goes and gets the notes and reads like additional instrumentation would be like, what? We had people in the cars. We had
What a cool experience, man.
Yeah, it was pretty cool being a
year was
part of that.
That was
And
nine.
Xander and I had vision of orchestration. We wanted an orchestra. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like me going and finding, like, what's the day rates? Like, what does a cellist charge? And like, if they wrote something, what does it mean? So I learned a lot on that record.
Yeah.
And there's full orchestrations. There's tabla players. You know what I mean? Like, it's really amazing sonically.
That's an awesome experience to have on you. But whether you think about it now, looking back at it, what were you thinking? But still, it's awesome to have that.
Yeah.
To work with that guy. You know?
Absolutely.
And push you. You know what I mean?
Right. And then musically, what came later was the shocker, which was another
I have that
idea.
here,
Of like my
Help you watch
idea
Gray.
of, I've always been about the band. The band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The co-creation, the community of the band.
Yeah.
So the shocker really was just trying to survive a lot of like ins and outs and going, but we were on Warped Tour twice.
Twice?
We did Warped, yeah.
In 2000s, right?
Yeah, in the 2000s and did a lot of really great shows.
Sex in Progress.
Sex in Progress was a project.
Yeah.
But I kind of get credited for it. But I actually would give Evie, who was in a band called Evil Beaver. Evil Beaver through the 90s. Carter kind of came up through Riot Girl. That was really her thing.
Yeah, and the Betty Blowtorch.
Again, I don't know what was going on with me, but as far as like being in defining moments, but they're a really sad thing. Like there was this band, Betty Blowtorch. I was friends for a long time with them. They had a horrible breakup on the road. And so I flew out to fill in for guitar.
Okay.
And the singer, Bianca Halstead, who's the bass player, singer, front person for that band, died in a car accident while I was on the road in New Orleans.
Wow.
In a hotel. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like...
It's heavy.
It was really heavy. And I was like faced with these traumas.
And that happened the whole thing too. You filling
just
into
one
yeah.
right after the other of like...
Damn, man.
Basically her band, most of her band left her. It was myself and a couple other people. You can watch. They have a doc. I've never watched the doc.
I'm gonna check it out.
I've never watched it. I don't know what role I play in it. I don't know how they talk about me. I don't know how they talk about themselves.
Yeah.
But it was, not.
Wow, man.
And there were people. I mean, I do not have enemies in this world. I very rarely look at people and don't see nuance. And I understand the difference between bad behavior and bad people. Yeah. There were people on that tour that I saw just the darkest side of sociopaths I would ever. I mean, it was incredible. And I'm not going to say who those characters are. They weren't necessarily in the band, but around it, the label, just. Yeah. And look, I feel very confident and strong and fortified as a human being now, but I wasn't all those years. I was very sensitive and emotional and, it was just like, okay. And I mean, I'm not emotional, like crying on the kitchen floor, but like shit really hit me and sunk in. You know what I mean?
Did you have to be harder to be in the band and be on the tour and this image of L7?
I never felt I had to.
Okay.
I mean, people received that.
Yeah.
I never felt I had to. I'd cry on stage, if I was feeling it, I mean, like I wasn't hiding behind anything. And a lot of people, but what happens is in life, and I think L7 is kind of part of this, and it's something that I always look at in myself, is this idea that I'm a receptacle of everything I know. So when I receive information, I'm going to put it into the spaces I know.
Totally.
So people only knew about women performers as being either hard ass or sex symbols. Like that was all they knew. And they didn't even have anywhere to go for the idea of a badass, especially in music, like looking at iconology. And I think I was so innocent. I was like, punk rock and hardcore, open-minded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
Open-minded. And I was just really surprised to find out it was the same repeated intervention, not with bands. Band members were always supportive of us, but it was the people that had to create the small bite-sized marketing text or photographs. Those are the ones, the writers, the editors, the record company owners, the managers. I mean, you want to talk about sexism? I'm sure nobody does.
No.
Let's talk about ageism. When one of the original meetings that I had with an attorney who was a very popular for being in the DIY system and then bringing bands into a wider audience who worked with us in the late 80s, said, how old is everybody in the band?
Wow.
And it made me age down. It made me go, because I was 20. And I said 18. And that the other gals were 20, 21, because I heard him. I heard what he was saying under that question. Yeah. And then he said, oh, great, they'll still have a few years left in you.
Jesus.
And that information has
brutal.
been, it's brutal.
It's harsh. Yeah, that's horrible, man.
It's
so much pressure. No,
Yeah, there's a lot bolted into that.
Wow, man.
Statement.
Yeah. And that's pretty much probably, fuck, man.
I know, right?
Okay, we're almost done now because I know you're.
Woohoo!
Well, the reunion, obviously, L7 reunion.
Reunion.
And how was it? Here's my question: between you leaving the band and just everything you've been through, was sobriety hard after you left the band?
No, it was easier after I left the band.
Okay. Wow. No, that's great.
This is a trick question.
No, it's not. I'm just wondering, because it's a big deal. That's like your baby. That's your heart. That's your love. That's your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think listen to even how I'm talking. Community is really important to me. Yeah, being on the road upends that a lot. And being able to be home. Of course, other star people went and toured. The Shocker went and toured, but it still allowed me some leeway to be able to create community with other people that were clean, to be able to tour with other people where that could be the priority. I'm not saying priority because I don't want to say I only picked other musicians based on their drug use status, but
I know what you're saying.
It definitely helps when it's a little bit of a different life philosophy, I'd say.
Was it weird working with new people that weren't L7, like your family, going in and stepping out and leaving and then start working with different people? Was that it might have been a fresher breath. I don't know what it could be, but it's something new for you.
I love the women in L7.
Yeah, because your sisters.
I was the youngest.
Yeah.
And I think that that kind of sibling hierarchy played a role in the relationship to them.
Totally.
In a lot, and my own drug use put them in a position, for which I'm so grateful as protector. Mm-hmm. But while I still had the opinions over business, so I think a lot of the conflict. When I was able to go into other bands, I could be the older sibling. I could be the one. Cool. No, I mean not physically, but I could be the one that was taken seriously, who had experience, who 100%. Had proficiency. So it's different when you're coming in on a band because. When I joined L7, I couldn't get in. We played bars, and I couldn't get into those bars. Wow. I had to get in and leave right after we would play.
Sneak in there.
And the gals are only a year or two older than I am, but they that's a big difference at that age.
Totally. Yeah. Were you miss? So when the obviously leading up to the reunion, were you missing playing? Was there? Did you think about them, or maybe one day would your reunion, or just miss being in that band, or you just kind of moved on with your life and just?
Wow, that's a really good question. Did I feel missing or desire or an emptiness?
To be on stage with them again, play those songs.
Yeah, and to write with them.
Yeah.
To have, Dee be the drummer, to have, Danita be, contributing harmony and guitar and lead. And I still, when I listen to Susie Gardner's leads, they're music. They're melodic. They stand alone. I don't want to talk. There's a lot of songs I could pull on, but one that I sang on, One More Thing. Mm-hmm. I sound like ass on that song. Honestly, I was still developing a voice. I hadn't really found my voice yet. Yeah. Susie and Danita and Dee kill that song. They make it awesome. By kill, as kids we use kill means awesome. Sorry,
for sure, I know.
They kill it on that song. Their contributions floors me to this day when we play that song. To this day, I'm just like, what? I'm awed. I'm awed by their expertise. I'm awed by them as people.
So getting back and playing the show and being back with them, it must have felt great.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, it is, honestly, it's confusing and odd for me to kind of be standing on the side of the stage and not sort of the central focus, which I ended up for the more majority of my performance career.
Yeah.
But, there's time and place for all of us, and that's what being in a band means, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's changing. I think that that's changing. I think that it's going to be really hard for people that just want to be musicians moving forward.
It's interesting.
You know, there's going to be more focus on just the way it was in the 50s.
I like what just moving forward from like the pandemic, just in life in general.
From the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think it's going to just go back to the cult of personality, creating music with the silent musician, silent partner, silent producer, if any.
Yeah. How do you feel about like moving forward playing shows as far as, I mean, I know they're announcing shows next year. It's just.
How do you feel?
I haven't played a show in a year. I'm just like, it's the longest I've been home in my life, which is great. And I'm lucky I'm in a good marriage where my wife doesn't want to kill me, but she told me that because I went on tour so much, that's why we stayed together, because I would go and I would come back and we had this missing each other thing. But now we don't have that. So it's really like a test of people's relationships and just everything, like being home, being stuck in one place for so long. But I'm trying not to think about music because I have no control over it. Like, even if they're announcing it, it's not up to the booking agents or the venues. It's up to the governors and the government and you know what I mean? It's like, it's out of my hands, man. I can't do anything about it. It's like, I'm trying to learn on this pandemic not to stress about things I can't control.
Do you think people are, because I'm not concerned about as a musician. I'm more concerned as an audience member. I mean, one thing I really do miss is going and seeing bands.
Me too.
And
I agree.
And then I think about going to, like, what was the last show I even, you know, like in 2019, I think I went and saw Rancid.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, talk about just going, like, go to the obvious, you know, but you know, it's going to be a good show. You
Amazing
know what I mean?
Show.
So, and you know, I think back to that was my experience of my last live show pre what is going to redefine the world. And I'm just thinking to all the drunk people and the beer spilling and the yelling and the like vomiting and the peeing on a wall and like all the stuff that was involved with that festival lifestyle, like not lifestyle. Sorry.
We played that show with you. What are we talking about? We played with you in Arizona.
Yeah.
With Rancid.
Yeah.
It was that like sponsored a booze thing. I forgot what it was called. It was, I don't know.
The Bash.
The Bash.
What is? That was only last year. How could you not remember that?
Sorry, because
do you know Lindsay Carmichael did the same thing?
He was there too. Oh my God! I saw pictures with you guys. Okay.
I'm gonna kill both of you. You both need to figure out like your lives.
There was L7, H2O, Rancid, Boss Tones.
You're welcome.
Dude, that was so awesome, man.
That was terrible.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. It was awesome to play with these guys.
To be together.
But the outdoor, we played early. Okay, let's keep it real.
What was it? What was it like playing? Do you remember that stage?
We played early.
Do you? So you don't even remember me coming and seeing you?
Yes, I do. Yes, it was a huge stage,
and
huge barricade.
Was so hot.
So hot. We played fucking early. I do remember that. And it was fucking, I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of weird. Everybody's drunk. You have to come to the stage. It gave me anxiety like I was on the Warped Tour. That's what it gave me. It gave me like I was playing at 11 o'clock in the morning on the Warped Tour, and the doors hadn't opened yet, and people were still coming in. It gave me that anxiety. I'm going to keep it real. I appreciate you, The Bash. It was really fun to play with these bands. It was like a throwback show. But it gave me the anxiety of like, oh, I have to try to win over new people and doing this for 25 years. Maybe old, and the people still walking in when you're playing. That kind of vibe.
And now, after all these years of the daytime show, they still don't know how to set up a stage so that it's not facing the sun.
It's true, too.
Like, can someone just get a compass? Get a compass, you guys.
You're right.
That's what I do. I'm walking. Oh, she's okay.
What is that?
The dog jumped.
It's okay.
She's okay to jump?
Yeah.
I'm a lover of the dachshund, and it's not okay for the dachshund to jump.
Did you enjoy that show?
I enjoy every show.
Okay.
I enjoy every show, but like I'm saying, I'm the one walking to stage going, really? After all these years? Do you guys? You're all the guys you're all from the Warped Tour. All you stage guys.
It was.
Who set the stage up?
In the sun. Such a wet blanket.
I am the worst wet blanket ever.
Yeah, that was weird being honest. I don't know. I was never. I love the Warped Tour. It was great. Met so many people, a new audience, all that. But just the outside and the plane, just all that was just like.
Right. Do you want to know? Do you want to know my take on what ruined hardcore?
Please fucking tell me.
She's into it.
Please tell me. Say it right now, because I'm let Stella. Tell me.
Okay.
Tell me.
No, well, you can't just walk away. He's walking away to let the dog out while I talk about hardcore. I'm talking it. Oh! I already said it.
Tell me. No, you didn't.
The hardcore matinee.
Like a CB Sunday matinee was sick.
I know. for you kids.
Mm.
Because then the hardcore matinee, look, you know what? We had our own version in Los Angeles that was at Cafe de Grand that was these daytime shows that allowed all ages, and they were great.
Okay.
The all ages daytime show led to the festival. And when the festival had to happen, the festival had to divide their stages.
Good point.
And when the festival had to divide their stages,
break it down.
It genrefied music to such an extent beyond what record stores did, beyond what Hot Topic did, although those two really helped. And that's what ruined music. At the end, wet blanket.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Holy crap, I never even thought about that, dude. Wow.
Lollapalooza really started it, but Lollapalooza also famously went into the night so that the headliners were seen as nighttime bands and the other bands were seen as daytime bands. And that's the difference. And that's my book title. I don't know what it is.
You guys did Lollapalooza, obviously.
But no, single-handedly Kevin Lyman of Warped ruined everything. No, I'm just kidding. No, he did. But in a good way.
Listening.
In a good way.
But he united so many of us, like bands that would never really play together usually. It was such a diverse bill at some point.
How did that work out for you? I'm just kidding.
I feel like there were pros and cons for all of it. But the pros is like meeting all diverse people.
Yeah, but we would have met on tour anyway.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
would have met on a nighttime tour.
A
nighttime tour with some daytime all ages shows. But you know what? There was nothing wrong with the nighttime all ages show. That was Gilman Street. That was Jabberjaw here in LA.
Yeah.
Other places here in LA. Golden Voice put on all ages shows at night all the time. But it was that parenting, weird daytime, bring your dad to punk rock.
It was. Damn, he just broke it down, man.
But you know what? What was really great is when the Shocker went back on to Warped Tour.
Okay, yeah.
It would be kind of fun. It was fun. I was
fun?
going to say, yeah, and kind of look at all these kids because we had a really young audience, and to be like, hey, is your dad here? Is your dad still married to your mom?
The crowds?
Come on.
What year was that? What year was the Shockers on there? Because the Warped Tour changed so drastically.
04, 07.
No, that was good. That was good then. Yeah, it started changing more after that. But
it was still daytime.
Yeah.
It was still daytime. They still had like the parents area.
Mm-hmm. The tent, waiting in the tent and stuff.
Yeah, it was day camp.
Wow.
That was what it always geared in to be.
Do you have any...
And that's what the bands turned into.
Yeah.
And look, I'm just going to tell you right now, Black Veil Brides, love them. Falling in Reverse, I'm okay with some convicts. Not what happened, but you know what I mean? Like all the drama, like I was good with all of it.
Yeah. You listened to newer stuff and you were checking out newer bands and all that.
I stopped listening.
Back then.
So all of us, right? If you're over 30 and you're listening to this podcast, you have the era that you stopped listening to music.
That's pretty true.
The joke used to be how a woman's hairstyle would indicate the year she stopped listening to music. So you can see this really gorgeous bouffant I have right now indicating I stopped in 1957, possibly 62. But it kind of does. So the last year, I really, really stopped listening. And can I say this on the radio?
Let's say the radio.
To white music. To white music.
I respect.
Was probably, thrice. You know what I mean? Like I just really, that's when the genres hit for me. That when all the genres coming together with the heaviness and the hardcore and like the brutalness, I loved.
Thursday, Taking Back Sunday, stuff like that.
That's a little commercial for me, but
okay.
I'd still go down that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd still go down that. To this day, today, I will tell you. Because sometimes do you ever just test yourself if you turn on like something like K-Rock and you're just like, what do I turn up? Imagine Dragons.
Great band. They're great. They got some hits, though. They got some catchy songs.
When I DJ, nothing will clear a room like Imagine Dragons. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Nothing will clear.
My son loved them when he was younger, but yeah, they had some hits. They had some catchy songs, man.
Yeah.
Catch yourself sing along to that stuff. Do you have any regrets in your life?
No.
Love that. I love when people say no. I love it.
Sometimes I get resentful, though. I have resentments in my life.
Yeah.
I have resentments, but I feel them, own them, and give them space, and kind of ask them, what do they need me to know? Because I think that resentments and regret is the kind of thing that's your subconscious trying to use emotion to inform you of something that's important in your current life, right? Mm-hmm. So, when I feel something, I try to get to know it better.
I love that.
And I'm a person like, dude, my upbringing, everything about what calculated to make me a human being, relied on things like shame and embarrassment. Those are the things that I felt the most. I would walk off stage just embarrassed for no reason.
Really?
The show would go great. I'm just saying it's that kind of thing where you're saying what anxiety looked like for you as a woman looked like shame to me. Gotcha. And that's how because it's all the same emotion. Like we share the emotion, but it's how we're interpreting it in our heads, right? I like to call it the story we're telling ourselves about it. Having to get to know new people, having been in the band, that's the same stuff, right? Yeah. And it's just the story. Your story is different than my story, but the feelings are probably the same. Yeah. So I always in my life now try to look at those feelings to figure out, is there information, particularly around resentment, regret, and what I'm going to call jealousy, because I think as a woman, you're not allowed to feel jealous because you're either part of that problem or you're embarrassed because you're part of the problem. Yeah, you know what I mean? I can't even explain it. Like, we're not supposed to be jealous of each other. Yeah. But jealousy can just be an indicator of like, maybe there's something I need to look at. Maybe if I'm jealous of a band, or you know what I mean? Like they got some kind of opportunity that seemed like it came more easy to them, then I just need to go take a piano lesson and you know what I mean? Go look at myself. Yeah, I love that. Do you have any daily rituals? I do. And they're not that it's the ritual, it's the daily ritual. It can switch out of what it looks like. Right now I do like morning pages. I wake up in the morning. Clearly I don't have children in the house. And I wake up and I get to write. I write for about 20 minutes, free write. It's nothing that would ever be shown. It's not to produce anything. It is just purely just what's on your mind, just whatever. Dude, my mind is like a bucket of woe. Seriously, my brain's the worst wet blanket. I don't even take anything from my conscious mind seriously at this point, which is a gift of age because you're just like, ugh. So really, I just need to spend some time dumping. Okay. I like dumping. It's therapeutic. Is it therapy for you, kind of just to write and just... Yeah, I guess it's therapy. Yeah. Also I'm of service in my communities too, and like recovery community and volunteer work. So, the second I start getting like resentful or have regret, I know I need to call somebody who needs support and help, and they have more resentment and more regret. And you know what I mean? So I love that. You can see, so optimist or pessimist? I'm not even in the playing field, dude. I'm a whole other thing. You're a realist? No, not even there. Okay. Not even there. What are you? Do you consider... I'm too much of an optimist. My wife says she's a realist. She's like, I live in reality. You live in like this little positive bubble, and the world's wonderful, and we're all going to hold hands and be united, and everything's going to be great. And I don't know. I've always thought on the positive tip my whole life. I don't know. Look to the positive, but my wife's like, she's a realist. She kind of breaks it down for me sometimes, snaps me back into reality. Yeah. It's interesting because women often play that role. Like when you're really coupled up with like someone who's an optimist, like, cause I know myself from trying to like, either date, men that are creatives, you end up, I don't know, like society just bolts you into an extension, and like as a team, you start to play your roles, right? Which is why my marriage really, I'm not going to say my marriage didn't work out, because I feel my marriage did work out. Yeah. Despite divorce, it worked out exactly how it was supposed to work out. And, I kind of feel like we couldn't settle in to the identity of a married couple. Like, is he the smart one and I'm the money one? Am I the money one and he's the hold the house down? And like, that's what wasn't working, is it's really confused in the realm of partnership and family. And like, I was just like, I know there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know exactly how to participate, I guess is the right word. Cause I don't want to say manifest, but I want to say participate. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So you think you ever get married again? Well, I realized that marriage has a lot to do with establishing partnership and property and power and children. So I feel like I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not for it. I'm just another voice in another way to live.
Respect that. Yeah.
That's all it is. And I currently do live with somebody, and they are amazing.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful to
I met him. He's cool.
wake up every day and like be in this person's life.
It's awesome.
Which I think at the end of the day, sometimes when you get that frustration and wow, because I get what you're saying, that relationship of going away and coming back, that is a real energy. That's like
really
real
is.
energy. And it might, I'm not saying for you, but for me, I was the one leaving and CJ was the one staying home.
Yep.
And I think that messed with the dynamic a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't making sense. It wasn't making sense for us as a couple.
Okay.
You know, I'd be out on Warped Tour, you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard.
You know, calling home, you know, being completely unable to do the things because in the role I provided a more traditional role in my relationship, and I would leave. Oh, there would just be this huge vacuum. You know what I mean? Like stuff would fall apart. Bees would move into the garage. Do you know what I mean? Like doors would break and he would just be like, the door's broken. And I'd be like, I'm in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's storming. So
Exactly. It's so hard to have this conversation from tour too. Like, cause you're like, I'm not really having fun. We just played a show. It's freaking hot. We have to get in the van now. We're exhausted. We haven't slept, but everybody's yelling in the background. Like, I don't want to act like my wife. Like she's at home, like with my son when he's first born. I'm on tour and she's just, you know what I mean? Like I'm out here working. I'm just doing my thing. And
I cannot imagine that role. Cause I talk to a lot of women who are in that role. How are you doing on time? Are you okay if I go into some other long-winded story?
No, we fucking love this. I love this. I've been waiting to have you on.
Okay.
Fucking say people love this shit.
Check this out. Agree or disagree.
Okay.
The idea of DIY to commercial success in many of the bands that we know is dictated by how old the firstborn child is of the members of the band.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting to think about.
It was a dynamic in the 90s that like when people from our scene started to get successful or commercially successful, somebody got pregnant.
Wow.
So go back and look.
Okay, I will do that. I'll
Bad
do my
Religion,
research.
Green Day. Just look at the age of their oldest child.
Interesting, man.
Francis Bean Cobain.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you can tell what year that man, because I'm gonna gender it out.
Okay.
That first got money, first got success.
That's very interesting. That's some real shit you said. I'm gonna have to look into that. Wow, man. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
What would be your top? Do you have a top 5 influential artist or author or photographer or a human that inspired you in any way?
So, I've been inspired my whole life, and an entire community, and people like you, and people who do the day-to-day of the kind of lifestyle that we have. I'm going to say that in a short, condensed.
All right. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah.
But I will say, like, artists that I follow right now who have done incredible things in this world that right now you can follow on Instagram, and the people that I think are the most, subversive, the ones that are really changing the world. Ai Weiwei is a great, incredible artist.
Ai Weiwei?
Ai Weiwei.
Okay.
To come into his story, do you want to know about him?
Yeah.
No.
How do you spell his name?
Aiweewei.
Okay.
Ai Weiwei.
Okay.
He's probably our age. I'm
Okay.
going to say he's our age. No, he has to be older than us. He has to be in his 60s. He was born in China, and he went to the United States and spent 15 years. So he's very, I'm going to say Western. You know what I mean?
Okay.
His father was a dissident poet, and he came to the United States, and he was part of the New York late punk scene. He was, and the hardcore scene, the emergence of the hardcore scene. But he was also part of like Jeff Koons and Andy Warhol and all of the stuff that was like the 70s. And I maybe to the beginning of the 80s. I don't know when he left.
Okay.
So he went back because his father was ill and he wanted to take care of his family. So he had an agreement that he was an artist. He was meant to not be in China. He was meant to be an artist here in the United States. So he went home and he became an artist, and he started to challenge the norms of China.
Okay.
And one of the first things he did, which is just very Western, was he challenged the idea of the ready-made product, which is like all about like the stuff that we did in punk rock, right?
Okay.
He took this old Ming vase and videotaped himself throwing it, and then challenged people's culture to understand why. So he did that kind of stuff, right? Like it's a little bit, we've seen it.
Okay.
Right? You know, we've seen the Queen and the Sex Pistols and all the narratives and the dead Kennedys. Like, so think of like the artists who worked with dead Kennedys or, you know, worked in that.
Yeah.
Right. So he had an agreement with the Chinese government, and they supported him, and they did all this stuff. And there was like events in China that he didn't agree with, not because he felt that the government was how they were structured, but because of transparency. He became really big on transparency. He challenged China to even do a show called Fuck You, China.
Wow.
In China.
Wow.
And challenging these ideas. So, you know what happened? He got jailed. He went to jail. They bulldozed his studio. Wow. They imprisoned his family. So he was in prison for a certain amount of time. And there was a big call out to the United States to see if the U.S. arts could bail him out, like people in the arts.
Holy
so like
shit.
People like if you go... Shepard Fairey, people like that really stepped up, and they were like, this is this guy, you know, like you could go right now to Shepard Fairey's site, who's another great artist, and see, and find his portrait of Ai Weiwei.
Okay.
Ai Weiwei. Sorry.
How long ago was he in jail? Like when was that?
A couple of years ago.
Okay.
2014. I'm getting a little bad, so I need to pull it together.
Sounds super punk.
So the Western community raised $1 billion to bail him out of jail.
What?
And he went to moved to Berlin and has been kind of touring around the world. He to the point, and this is the story, like actually we're recording it right now and it may be wrong, so because there's a part of the story that gets
people can look it up
weird,
too,
but he was leaving China, and I believe he was at the airport in Australia, and they hooded him and took him out of the airport in Australia to the Chinese embassy and kidnapped him. And that's kind of where I think no, you can't do this to an artist.
Holy shit, man.
So,
it's fucking scary.
So yeah, he works now, you know, he's a conceptual artist, which I think is the way the arts are going. I do. Yeah. And he's amazing and subversive. And he does, you know, his stuff right now is very subtle. So I think like, if you were to kind of look at what he does, you really need to look deeper. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I felt that way about hardcore. I felt like my intro into listening to Black Flag was like, woo, you know, and but then when you get kind of deeper into the lyric and the meaning and the culture and the context and how it was created and why it was created and what it was created with, if you're into that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just the same investigation into like this artist's life.
I love that. So that's a main one for you.
Yeah. So I follow him on Instagram, and you know, you just don't know with him. I mean, that's like a for real life. So and then I'm just listening, like I do not go on TikTok intentionally, like we said. It's not because I don't think I would have fun or it's a genre. I just don't want to see Coca-Cola ads. Like I just don't want to see it. So, you know, I still game. So I'm kind of on Discord and other places, but yeah.
So gaming, you're like a gamer.
I still game. Yeah.
What kind of game? What games?
You know, I've always played kind of like Raid the Castle.
Okay.
Kind of games. You know, so kind of grew up through, I guess, like Warcraft, then World of Warcraft, and did some Fortnite. But lately, I've been playing more like Fall Guys, and you know, Among Us.
I know nothing about that world. I know it's huge, man. It's crazy.
Well, it's where the subversion and the controversy are. I mean, Gamergate and all that, like the controversy and the community building. That's all.
Yeah, so you play with a group of strangers and stuff, like you're all set up in there, and
yeah.
Wow, man.
And some of the best, like most innovative stuff I think that I've done outside of say music and art has been in software.
Okay.
And it was meeting people through, you know, being in groups with them and meeting every Sunday and talking and hearing about their lives, and then like
That's
conquering,
incredible,
the boss of whatever, dungeon castle, and then talking about, oh, what do you do? Oh, you're a software developer. Oh, I have like, oh, we have this problem. And I'd be like, have you thought about, have you tried? And then, that's how I've gotten some of the most like innovative, I think, like software development jobs.
That's like a whole like subculture in its own, like underground thing, and not underground because people know about it, like a community. That's so cool, man. It's interesting.
And I don't, I already think it's come and gone. Like I already think it's hit its peak and its controversy and like exposed itself for the same stuff that every movement has exposed itself for. Which is sexism and like inability to just simply behave and be kind,
Yeah. Wow, man, that's crazy. So how much out of your life do you play? Are you doing the gaming stuff like every day?
Well, as you know, I've been in school, so
it's
completely caused a problem with my my gaming schedule.
Yeah. So it's a part of your schedule is gaming, like part of your life.
Yeah. Part of my life. Yeah, definitely.
So
but
cool,
you know
man.
what always hasn't been part of my life is that Netflix chill, not Netflix because I'm implying sex, but like I swear I do have time for sex. I make the sex. I know I seem sexless, but I do make the sex.
Oh shit.
But like, I've never been like, I was always that person that heard like, television, drug of a nation, beating ignorance and feeding radiation. I was always like, I don't watch TV. Like I became a cord cutter really early on, but that 2 hours a day or whatever hour a day became for
cord
gaming.
cutter. I like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, now that's an expression that's out there. Like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you and I are part of the cord cutter generation.
Okay.
We had cords and then we didn't have cords.
Okay.
We're the cord cutters.
Got you.
But nobody wants to call us that. We shouldn't call us.
Okay. We shouldn't say that. Okay.
But yeah, my boyfriend, who is 38. Hello. Hello. He is still a cord cutter. Like we still have, like he still grew up in a house with the telephone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a dial-up modem.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. Which actually works. That's amazing. And so you're in school now, which is awesome. It's never too late to go to school. You can always go to school. It's incredible. I think it's cool you're doing that.
It's never too late to go to school, but like
learn
right
and
now,
push yourself.
right now is a really good time to go to school. 2020, 2021, 2022, because all of the systems got rocked.
Yeah.
And we know, you and I know from our experience, when a system gets rocked, it means there's a crack, and where there's a crack means there's an opening. And where there's an opening means just step through.
Love that.
Right? Because right now...
That's super positive.
I know.
That's not a wet blanket shit. That's awesome.
Until the part where I'm going to tell you can't afford to go do something. Like you can't afford this. Where's the benefit? What are you doing? Who are you?
That's a really good point, though. You just said it. Wow,
I don't care who you're doing it with, but why are you doing it?
Yeah. What's your major right now? What are you trying to do? What's your goal?
I don't know. I want to somehow do an interdisciplinary look at studio art with new genre, with conceptual thinking. I have been a critic of visual media since I looked at Sesame Street and said, I don't know you guys. Or let's say since I looked at Disney and said, you're no Sesame Street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess that's a better.
That's a great, that's true. Wow.
So yeah.
I love that.
And I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, I don't even know when this is going to be released, but right now, I have, one of these little fantasies. I started in San Francisco Arts Institute and, California and College of Design. Everything that's up there has, Berkeley, all of these schools have been in my, bullseye for forever, but I've never been good enough. I've never been consistent enough. I've never been able to show up as a student like that.
Yeah.
Plus drugs, rock and roll, boys, touring, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I called this friend and I was like, what do you think of San Francisco Art Institute? And she said, and I quote, because here's where we are. I had a department at San Francisco State University. What exactly do you need to know? Are you thinking about coming here? Because we can probably look into it. And I was just like, don't make my vision real.
Wow.
But, I'm looking at UCLA also because UCLA.
That's so cool you're doing that, man. Just chapter of your life. You know what I mean? All the stuff you've been through and done in your life. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, you want to anyone heading into ageism and like sexism about the music scene, try the software scene on Versailles. It's even more that. And you know, I just 3 days ago, I was on a Zoom conference with all these investors for this property that we're working on right now. Property meaning website.
Yeah.
And you just look at all of them, and I'm like, you know, degreed. And then it's like, oh, the funny, goofy one who's the musician with the amazing career arc, you know? And I'm just like, I need to do something about this. I need to rebrand a little bit because I think it'd be worth it for what I'm doing.
Yeah. How long have you been in school for now? Like how long?
It's a year. I mean, I'm just still in community college, like working through math. Like I really wanted to advance through math as far as I could. I wanted to advance through English because writing is important.
Yeah.
I'm not that good at them. Just not that good. And I did a studio photography class.
It's cool.
You know, and you guys helped me out. I think I needed
models.
models.
Max pictures, yeah. If you see Max's picture on Instagram of his, she took those photos. Yeah. They're awesome.
Hey, did you interviewed Milo?
Yeah.
How was that? I didn't get to listen to that one.
Great. He's great. It's wonderful,
And the photograph that you used?
That was yours?
It's one of mine.
The one of him like that with the glasses? Like,
yeah.
No way, man.
Of Milo wearing his own shirt.
Are you serious?
Isn't that awesome?
I'm going to tag you in that shit. That's crazy.
You don't have to tag me. I don't care.
I didn't know you took that.
I feel like I released this whole body of work, that one from when I raised, because I want people to use these images to further tell their stories.
I love that.
Whether it's you, whether it's him.
I love that.
And
wow, you took that photo. That's sick.
Yeah. So I know those photos, I released them in a way that hopefully they just get around. It doesn't need to necessarily be known I took them.
That's awesome.
And as you know, my own website's not together yet. I need to get it together.
You can't plug it right now because it's not together yet, right?
I just can't.
How can people find your stuff right now if they want to find stuff?
You know what? I love social media, so don't get me wrong, but I really am trying to move anybody who's really interested about what I do. I'm interested in what they do. So I started just a plain old email newsletter where I'm just collecting people's like email addresses and their addresses to be able to, you know, like send stuff out. And we've done like, you know, postcard exchanges and just done some fun stuff. So you could go to jenniferfinch.com. I believe the form is there. Let me know if it's not working. If it's really important to anyone to get in touch with me, my phone number's on my Instagram.
Wow, man. That's freaking awesome.
So you can text me directly, but please note that is my home phone number. So, and the days of getting late night drunk calls.
Yeah, no crank calling,
you know what? Honestly, well, there's no. I don't answer the phone unless you're in my book. And you know, like the whole texting has this new thing now where everything gets pushed to the side if someone's not. You know that? Did you see that?
What do you mean your texting gets? What do you mean?
For on the iPhone, there's the release within the last 3 months. If it's an unknown phone number, it goes to a specialty folder and not in your regular stream.
Wow.
So a person needs to be in your contacts. So be patient if you do try to talk to me that way. It may not get to you.
I like when they get the call and it says scam likely.
Oh, I love Scam Likely.
I love
Scam Likely, and now I'm answering Scam Likely, and it's like, hey, it's your doctor's office.
Really?
We have it. Yeah, Scam Likely isn't.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was just all like just telemarketers and stuff. Wow, man.
Mostly, but not always.
Well, you have such an incredible journey, and I appreciate your time today and telling your story. And the documentary is incredible. And that's on all platforms, right?
Yep.
Is it Netflix too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The documentary's on all platforms. It's called Pretend We're Dead. The L7 story. Check it out. You know, we released a record last year called Scatter the Rats. It's on
right
Blackheart, which is Joan Jett's label.
Woo,
again, like I said, the reissue on vinyl of the full-length version of Smell the Magic is out. And then all the
you
other...
should get that fast. Only 500 copies. That's going to sell fast. That's huge. That's amazing. Yeah, that's super limited.
Yeah.
I love that.
Shoot, I don't even have one. You just reminded me.
You have to get one, man. You always want to have your vinyl of
Where
that.
am I going to put it?
Just have it. You click vinyl?
Yeah.
You do?
I do, but I click I always told myself when I was younger that my 50s were going to be about understanding jazz and classical. And then I really never thought I'd have to do it. So I've been listening to vinyl.
Yeah. Jazz. I like jazz. I don't know, but classical. My son plays classical piano from Hamilton, obviously, and we listen to classical in the car. We go surfing in the morning. It's really nice and relaxed. I do appreciate that, actually.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where you need more information to dive into it. Like when you know the context and you know like where it came from and why it's important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a lot. You know, sometimes you just want to rock. Sometimes you just need some Imagine Dragon. You're just like, or like 21 Pilots.
So
final
question.
question.
Final question. Is there? So I guess it'd be them. Is there like a group that people would never expect Jennifer Finch from L7 to listen to? That's not from, I don't know, the genre. Like, is there a band that you love that's like so random? Mine's Coldplay, and I love them. My favorite band. So I'm not scared.
Well, for me, it has to go back to songs that were, in order to define yourself, you had to hate them. So like,
that's great.
Marcy's Playground.
Wow. Okay.
I will run through the house singing, to which Jack usually throws something and closes the door. Yeah, it's been kind of brutal in 2020, but
Marcy's Playground.
Talk about getting work, though. That guy has not stopped working. He's a commercial illustrator.
I didn't know that.
Commercial illustrator.
I'm not familiar with that band. I know the name. I'm not familiar with
Marcy's Playground.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Look it up. I'm gonna check it out.
I was just gonna say, there she was, dun, dun, Disco Lemonade. There she was.
Was that 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You could have completely missed it. You could have,
Yeah.
unless you went into a lot of 7-Elevens, you could have completely missed it in the 90s.
What about any hip hop for you? No hip hop?
I've always listened to hip hop.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I always say that like people are always like, what's the most defining moment in rock? I'm like, yeah, when I heard NWA.
Sick.
Dude, when that record,
So punk.
When that record dropped from Los Angeles, we're talking about times there was nothing coming out of LA.
Yeah.
Like the hardcore, everything was in New York.
Yeah.
Everything was in New York. If you needed that thing, you had to go to you guys to go get that.
Yeah.
And then we had NWA. I was like, yes, I'm scared and attracted. I'm scared and attracted.
Yeah. I think you're one of my first guests that actually is born and raised in LA, actually, to be honest.
Really? No, Angelo.
Oh,
well,
that's right,
he
that's
kind of
right.
he's kind of from the north, I suppose, but he's from the valley.
Okay. But you have so many roots here and so much history. It's amazing. And when we mentioned early, listeners, that she went to Hamilton. That's where my son goes, which is a music program where the Interrupters went and Nipsey Hussle went and Jennifer Finch went. Who else went there in Hamilton? You said earlier. Do you remember? Some other musicians came from Hamilton. I thought you said somebody earlier. Maybe I'm wrong.
Fishbone.
Fishbone, yeah,
Right.
Hamilton High.
But
Great
then
high.
like all the Chili Peppers and other people went to Fairfax,
Fairfax High, yeah. Wow, really?
which I would have thought would have been more your district, sitting here in your house, not Fairfax High.
Well, my son was in Larchmont Charter. Then we had to get him.
Got it.
Came to this one, but after my son was in the sheltered bubble of Larchmont Charter, which is a great school. I love Larchmont Charter. It's great. My son said, "I want to go to a school where there's lockers and bullies." He wanted to go to more reality, and so he chose. And he tried out and got into Hamilton, playing drums and stuff. So the rest is history. Well, thank you for your time. I have all my notes. I went through all your shit. You have such an incredible journey. I'm honored to call you my friend. I learned so much about you today and through the fucking documentary, and my wife's love for your band and everything about you. She was so happy I had you here today. Where can people see your photos, though? On the same website?
They can't.
Okay.
I mean,
you can Google her shit and you can find it because that's how I found her
gonna
stuff.
I'm gonna do a limited release with punk rock paintbrushes of 4 images.
Okay.
So you should probably go there.
I think there should be a GoFundMe for 14 in shooting. I think that should be a book.
I don't want it. I don't want to do a book.
Okay.
I know. I don't want to do a book. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I don't like stale media. I don't want to produce more crap. But thank you. But what I'm thinking about doing, if anyone wants to sign up, hopefully I'll get this together, is I want to do a fanzine, which I would release my work and then also do a little interview like you're doing with me now in fanzine format, to which they could subscribe, pay kind of probably, I mean, those fanzines are like $20 just to produce them. So they'd probably be like 6, like maybe a buy-in of $200. And then you would get 6 issues.
I love it. You're talking fanzines and newsletters. I love that, man.
Well, that's still how we can interact.
Yeah.
Like that's still like, I don't want to release a book and then have someone come to me and go like, oh my God, that's my photo. I'm in that scene. I want to be able to like then be able to reimagine this with a new an image of like, maybe it's just an image of the dead Kennedys at the whiskey, and then be able to say, oh, that's so and so, they're in it. So to me, it's like it never worked as a website.
Yeah. I love that.
Kind of deal, but I have some ideas.
Yeah. Well, I love your journey. I appreciate you and your story and everything you've been through and where you're at now. And you inspired a lot of people with your work and everything. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. I hope that we inspire. I hope to continue to inspire. That's, and support.
You inspire me actually to learn more, maybe read more and look at things more and check out different things. I'm a terrible reader. I need to step that up. Just other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're living in a revolution. This doesn't, you can cut that.
Okay.
We're living.
That's a good way to end it, though. We're living in a revolution. Yeah, I love that.
We're living in a revolution right now. And I know that like people but man, artists and how things are going to work.
Yeah.
Are you still recording?
I can shut off, though.
Okay.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.